Chapter 1339. What are you laughing at? The mysterious lady said angrily. Can't you see it now? All of this was carefully planned by Qin Feiyang. He first used you and the main tower to deal with the Mu family. Then, he used the people of the Mu family and the main tower to deal with you and rob you of the divine crystals. Mu Changfeng laughed. When the mysterious lady heard this, she immediately roared in her heart, "Little bastard, you dare to scheme against me? Aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning?" Mu Changfeng then looked at the other three and said, "Didn't Qin Feiyang promise to help the main tower get back the divine crystals?" The three of them didn't speak, their faces were gloomy. Looks like I guessed right. Amazing. Without spending a single soldier, he looted the herb field of the Mu family, saved the fire Qilin, made us lose all the battle emperors, and even killed Yiglao. In the end, he got the divine crystals. Qin Feiyang, I really underestimated you. I have to admit that you are indeed qualified to be a chess player. Do you think it's funny? To think that we, the top 3 factions, and our semi-divinity realm experts, would be toyed around by a brat. Mu Changfeng looked at the mysterious lady and the others, his eyes were full of ridicule. Without exception. The group of people's faces were extremely ugly. Bastard, I knew you wouldn't be so kind. Gong Sunbei clenched his hands, his eyes were gloomy. This is retribution. The head of the Mu family looked at him gloatingly. What are you gloating about? Although we were schemed against by Qin Feiyang, the main tower didn't lose anything at all. And the mysterious lady only lost the divine crystals. But your Mu family, the things you lost this time should be enough to make you despair. Gong Sunbei sneered. The head of the Mu family's face sank, and a strong light of hatred shot out from his eyes. I've caught the castle. Suddenly, the old man in black robe shouted. Where is it? Everyone's spirit was lifted. Over there. The old man in black robe pointed to the void dozens of miles to the left. Everyone present, except for Gong Sunbei and the head of the Mu family, all released their divine sense and rushed towards the void. Immediately, they caught a speck of dust that was shuttling through the void like lightning. Quickly, imprison it. The vice head of the main tower shouted. If they let Qin Feiyang escape, they would become a joke in the future. Streaks of divine might burst out, covering the sky and covering the earth as they surged toward the ancient castle. So what if it's sealed? Can you still break open the ancient castle and capture Qin Feiyang? Mu Changfeng's eyes were filled with ridicule. Although the Mu clan, the seal, it's not it. If it was a long time ago, he might have done so. With Qin Feiyang had already broken through to a 2-star combat emperor and had countless herbs. It was impossible to trap him. Suddenly, he looked at the mysterious lady and the others. Killing intent surged in the depths of his eyes. Whoosh! In the next moment, he was like a ghost, instantly landing in front of the 5 people. He raised his old hand and slapped another old man in the main tower. Because this person was standing at the front. The 5 people's attention was on the castle. They didn't expect that Mu Changfeng would ignore Qin Feiyang and attack them, so they weren't prepared at all. Boom! Crack! Accompanied by a loud sound, the old man's head exploded on the spot. Blood splattered across the sky, and a scream resounded through the sky. The mysterious lady and the others' faces suddenly changed. They hurriedly looked back at the old man and found that his soul had been annihilated. The annihilation of the soul, even a false god couldn't reverse the situation. This also meant that another false god had fallen. Immediately after, the 4 of them retreated at the same time. With the divine crystals, you still have a little chance. But now, the divine crystals have been snatched away by Qin Feiyang. What else can you use to fight me? All of you, die. Mu Changfeng laughed sinisterly and rushed toward the 4 people crazily. In the distant void. Inside the castle, Qin Feiyang was lying on the ground, bleeding all over. When they were fighting for the divine crystals, the battle fluctuations in the void had caused fatal injuries to him. Now, he didn't even have the strength to stand. Even his consciousness was being swallowed by the darkness. However, he knew that he couldn't faint now. Therefore, he bit his tongue and tried to stay awake to drive the castle away from this place. The divine crystals were quietly on the ground of the castle. As for Lu Zheng, he had been nervously staring at Mu Changfeng and the others in the screen. Seeing that Mu Changfeng suddenly attacked the mysterious lady and the others, he was relieved. He immediately ran to Qin Feiyang's side, squatted on the ground, and asked anxiously, "How are you?" Although he was a little unhappy with Qin Feiyang, blood was thicker than water. He still cared about this little cousin of his. "I won't die," Qin Feiyang said weakly. "It's good that you won't die." Lu Zheng immediately took out a healing pill with 5 elixir veins and stuffed it into Qin Feiyang's mouth. However, the injuries were too serious. Even a healing pill with 5 elixir veins would have little effect. Seeing this, Lu Zheng frowned and said, "What do we do now?" Qin Feiyang said, "Help me up. Let's leave the castle and return to the great Qin Empire immediately." Lu Zheng was stunned and asked, "What about the mysterious lady and the others?" Qin Feiyang said, "I've achieved my goal. Whether they live or die has nothing to do with me." "That makes sense." Lu Zheng nodded. Ignoring the blood on Qin Feiyang's body, he picked up Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang willed and the two immediately appeared in the sky above the sea. Then, Lu Zheng opened the portal and descended above the ice lake with Qin Feiyang in his arms. Qin Feiyang said, "The teleportation altar is in a grotto at the bottom of the lake." He was almost at his limit. Lu Zheng didn't dare to delay for a moment and immediately rushed into the ice lake. At the same time, his battle aura surged and formed a battle aura boundary to separate them from the bone-chilling lake water. "What's going on?" Before reaching the bottom of the lake, the snow python greeted them. Looking at Qin Feiyang's injuries, its eyes were full of shock and confusion. "There's a situation," Lu Zheng said respectfully, but there was a trace of suspicion in his eyes. When he first came here, he clearly sensed a wisp of dragon aura here. Why was it gone now? A situation? The snow python was stunned. It looked at Qin Feiyang and sneered. "You're so badly injured. It seems that you've hit a wall this time." Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. Lu Zheng asked, "Senior, can we leave now?" He was very impatient, but he didn't dare to show it. The snow python glanced at Lu Zheng, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "You'd better behave yourself in the future. Otherwise, you'll lose your life. Let's go." Lu Zheng immediately carried Qin Feiyang and rushed down. After reaching the bottom of the lake, Qin Feiyang pointed to the entrance of the grotto. He couldn't hold on any longer and fell into Lu Zheng's arms, fainting. "Little cousin." Lu Zheng's expression changed. Feeling that Qin Feiyang's heart was still beating, he let out a breath and carried Qin Feiyang to the entrance. After entering the grotto, he didn't waste any time and immediately activated the altar. "Qin Feiyang, why did you lie to me? Come out and explain it to me." But at this moment, Gong Sun Bei's angry roar came from outside. He guessed that Qin Feiyang would immediately leave the Forgotten Continent after stealing the divine crystal, so he rushed here. However, Lu Zheng didn't pay attention to him at all. He stepped onto the altar and his figure quickly faded. Outside the ice lake, Gong Sun Bei held the Mu family's head and stood by the lake, his eyes full of anger. Dong! At this moment, the snow python broke out of the water and floated above the lake. "Greetings, senior." Gong Sun Bei's pupils shrank and he bowed. "He's gone. You can leave too. Don't disturb my meditation." After the snow python finished speaking, it returned to the ice lake and disappeared. Gong Sun Bei looked at the ice lake, his face full of unwillingness. After a long time, he turned and left with the Mu family's head. Butterfly Valley. Hundreds of flowers bloomed, and the fragrance of the flowers filled the air. Stalks of emerald green grass swayed in the wind, full of vitality. By the lake. Old Man Qin sat on a bluestone as usual, like an ordinary old man in the countryside. He didn't have the slightest aura, quietly fishing. Suddenly. He looked up at the sky, a cold light flashing in his eyes. Almost in the next moment, two figures appeared. It was Lu Zheng and Qin Feiyang. Seeing that it was Qin Feiyang, the cold light in Old Man Qin's eyes faded, but then he noticed Qin Feiyang's injury. Whoosh! He immediately put down the fishing rod, turned into a stream of light, and landed in front of Lu Zheng. Looking at the unconscious Qin Feiyang, he asked, "What happened?" "It's a long story. Let's find a place to put him first," Lu Zheng said. "Come with me." Old Man Qin glanced at Lu Zheng, then turned and flew down to the wooden building below. Lu Zheng followed closely behind him. Entering the wooden building, Old Man Qin took Lu Zheng into a bedroom. The bedroom was very simple. There was no decoration, only a clean wooden bed. Lu Zheng gently placed Qin Feiyang on the wooden bed, then silently observed Qin Feiyang's condition. Although Old Man Qin was full of doubts, he didn't disturb Lu Zheng at this moment. Time flew by. An hour passed. Seeing that Qin Feiyang's injury didn't worsen and was gradually getting better, Lu Zheng was completely relieved. Old Man Qin couldn't wait to ask, "What happened to make him like this?" "Let's talk outside." Lu Zheng turned and walked outside. Old Man Qin hurriedly followed. The two left the room and walked to the tea table in the hall. The tea table was carved from a very common tree root, looking simple and plain. "I didn't expect a fake god to live such a simple life." Lu Zheng glanced at the tea table, then glanced at the hall, and smiled. Old Man Qin rolled his eyes at him and said impatiently, "Don't talk nonsense. Tell me what you experienced on the Forgotten Continent. I've been on the run for so long, my mouth is dry. You should at least make me a pot of tea to moisten my mouth, right?" Lu Zheng sat by the tea table and chuckled. "You want me to make tea for you? Who do you think you are? Are you looking for a beating? Tell me." Old Man Qin's face darkened, and he said angrily. Lu Zheng smiled helplessly and slowly told him what happened these days. However, he didn't mention the divine crystal. Chapter 1340. After listening, Old Man Qin was dumbfounded. He did not expect that in just a few days, Qin Feiyang and Old Man Qin had experienced so many things. Lu Zheng picked up the teacup and moistened his throat. He smiled and said, "My little cousin's performance is not bad, right?" "Good." Old Man Qin nodded. His old face was full of praise. With the cultivation of a 2-star combat emperor, he dealt with the 3 superpowers of the Forgotten Continent. Among them, there were 9 fake gods. If it was anyone else, it would be impossible to succeed. However, not only did Qin Feiyang successfully deal with them, he even killed 2 fake divinities and took advantage of them. Who could compare with such a mind? Even he was left in the dust. And the most happy thing was that the Mu family. Time passed day by day. During these days, Lu Zheng temporarily stayed here. Other than taking care of Qin Feiyang, he fished, drank tea, and chatted with Old Man Qin every day. His days were very comfortable. On the 5th day, Qin Feiyang finally woke up from his coma. The injuries on his body had been completely healed with the help of the flame of life and the purple gold dragon blood. Now, his skin was as smooth and tender as a newborn baby's. Lu Zheng had also helped him clean the bloodstains on his body and changed him into a clean set of clothes. He opened his eyes and looked at the ceiling in confusion. Where was this? This room was very unfamiliar. After a while, Qin Feiyang slowly sat up and looked around the room. He then got off the bed and stretched his muscles and bones. Feeling that his injuries had been completely healed, he walked to the window and looked outside. Green mountains and clear waters, a sea of flowers and a lake scene came into view. The clear air assaulted his nose, making him feel refreshed. It turned out to be the Butterfly Valley. Qin Feiyang muttered and flew out of the window. He stood above the wooden building and scanned the Butterfly Valley. Soon, he saw Old Man Qin and Lu Zheng by the lake. The two of them sat by the lake, fishing with fishing rods in their hands. They were like a pair of grandfather and grandson, laughing and chatting leisurely. Whoosh! Qin Feiyang's figure moved. He streaked across the sky and landed beside the two of them. He said, "Why are you laughing so loudly? Even if there are fishes, they will be scared away by you. What do you know? What we're fishing for is not fish, but life. A cultivation maniac like you will never understand the joy in this," Lu Zheng said in disdain. The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. He really didn't understand what fishing had to do with life. "He's awake." Old Man Qin lifted his head and looked at Qin Feiyang with a smile. Qin Feiyang nodded and cupped his hands. "Thank you for your care, Elder Qin." Lu Zheng said, "Don't get it wrong. I've been taking care of you for the past 5 days, not old Qin. I'm the one you should be thanking." 5 days? Qin Feiyang stared blankly for a moment before sighing. Time really flies. I wonder how the Forgotten Continent is right now? Do you still need to think about it? Facing 2 super overlords at the peak of the pseudo-god realm, do you think the people from the head of the tower and the mysterious madam will have a good time? I'm afraid they're all dead by now. Lu Zheng laughed gloatingly. All dead, Qin Feiyang murmured, a complicated feeling rising in his heart. He didn't care about the people from the head of the tower. But he had a different feeling about the mysterious madam. Was it guilt or sympathy? He couldn't tell. Lu Zheng put down the fishing rod, got up, and looked at Qin Feiyang, saying, "Since you've recovered, let's get ready to leave." "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded and collected his thoughts. He looked at Old Man Qin and said, "Did anyone come to the spiritual state during the few days we were away? Or did anything major happen?" "I'm not sure if anyone came to the spiritual state. Because everyone in the imperial capital knows that I'm guarding the Butterfly Valley. Even if someone came, they wouldn't pass by here. As for whether anything major happened, I haven't received any news yet," Old Man Qin said. The 9 states were connected, and one could enter the spiritual state from the other 8 states. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and said, "Okay, we'll take our leave first. Zhuge Nanhua is guarding the pagoda. I'd like to ask you, how are you going to go back?" Old Man Qin chuckled. "Let's go back openly. If he dares to block the way, I'll kill him." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. "Huh, you have a personality and are very domineering. I like it. Go." Old Man Qin laughed and waved his hand. "Goodbye." Qin Feiyang and Old Man Qin bowed and turned to rush into the secret chamber. Lu Zheng smiled and said, "To be honest, our biggest gain is actually Old Man Qin." "What do you mean?" Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked suspiciously. "Now that Old Man Qin is on our side, with his strength and status in the great Qin Empire, he will be of great help to us in the future," Lu Zheng said. "I won't object to this." Qin Feiyang smiled. After a while, the two of them entered the secret chamber, and Lu Zheng immediately revived the altar. But suddenly, Qin Feiyang reached out and stopped Lu Zheng. "What's wrong?" Lu Zheng looked at him in confusion. Qin Feiyang said, "I'll send a message to Fatso first to see if he's still in the spiritual state." Then, he took out the image crystal. However, after waiting for a long time, Fatso did not respond. Qin Feiyang also put away the image crystal and looked at Lu Zheng. "Let's go." It was impossible for Fatso not to respond to him. The only explanation was that Fatso did not receive his message. There was only one possibility if he did not receive the message. Fatso was now in the capital. Lu Zheng waved his hand, and a fiery red battle aura emerged and poured into the teleportation altar. By the way, when you were in the Forgotten Continent, Gongsun Bei came to find you after you fell into a coma. From his tone, he seemed to hate you. Lu Zheng said. It would be strange if he didn't hate me. Qin Feiyang said. Lu Zheng asked, then do you still plan to take him under your command? A forcibly picked melon is not sweet, let nature take its course. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, but what? Lu Zheng was suspicious. Qin Feiyang said, although the Mu family suffered a fatal blow this time, we still can't be careless because the Mu family has another artifact in addition to the space-time gate. What? Lu Zheng's expression changed. This is what Mu Qing told me personally. It is said that it was personally refined by Mu Tianyang and integrated with Mu Tianyang's flesh and blood. Back then, when Mu Tianyang was reborn, the Mu family was able to sense it immediately because of this artifact. But what I don't understand is, why didn't the Mu family take out this artifact when such a big thing happened this time? Qin Feiyang frowned. Why didn't you tell Gongsun Bei about such an important thing? Lu Zheng was surprised. If I tell them that the Mu family has another artifact, will they cooperate with us? Qin Feiyang said. You are a scammer. Fortunately, I am your cousin. Otherwise, I don't know how I would be scammed by you. Lu Zheng rolled his eyes. Qin Feiyang was quite speechless. In short, this time, the Mu family gave me a strange feeling. It's better to be careful in the future. Among the fake gods, only Yiglao, Mu Changfeng, and the white-robed old man had appeared. They clearly had a divine artifact, but they didn't show it. He wouldn't believe that there was nothing wrong with it. Buzz. The teleportation altar was activated. Lu Zheng retracted his arm and said, send me to the castle. We can't let the emperor and the state preceptor know that the Lu family is involved. I really don't understand. The Lu family is so strong. What are you afraid of? Qin Feiyang frowned. Some things are not as simple as you think. Lu Zheng said. Qin Feiyang said, then tell me, how complicated is it? Lu Zheng was silent and looked at him quietly. Qin Feiyang was extremely angry, but he could only hold it in. After sending Lu Zheng to the castle, he let out a long breath and stepped on the teleportation altar. At the same time. Pagoda. The pagoda door opened quickly. A black figure stood in front of the pagoda and stared at the teleportation altar. His eyes were cold. This person was Zhuge Nanhua, an expert at the peak of the 9-star combat emperor realm. Swoosh. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang's figure appeared on the teleportation altar. Qin Feiyang. Zhuge Nanhua's eyes were filled with intense killing intent. He didn't even bother to hide it. Sensing the killing intent, Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. He jumped down from the altar and looked up at Zhuge Nanhua. He laughed and said, I was wondering who it was. It's the great-grandfather of the person who lost to me. Greetings, senior. The person who lost to him was naturally Zhuge Mingyang. Zhuge Nanhua almost went berserk in the face of such a blatant mockery. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a hint of mockery. He laughed and said, Senior, it must be very tiring to be guarding the door. When you have time, I'll invite you to the Fragrant Moon brothel for a few drinks and relax. In other words, Zhuge Nanhua was just a watchdog. Who was Zhuge Nanhua? How could he not hear the mockery in Qin Feiyang's words? He clenched his fists tightly, making cracking sounds. It seems like Senior has nothing to say to me. I'll take my leave then. Qin Feiyang laughed and walked out of the pagoda. He walked past Zhuge Nanhua. Suddenly, Zhuge Nanhua turned around and grabbed Qin Feiyang's shoulder. Is there anything, Senior? Qin Feiyang didn't even turn his head. His eyes were filled with a piercing killing intent. The Great Qin Empire has a rule. Without the emperor's permission, no one in the imperial capital or the 9 prefectures is allowed to activate the teleportation altar. Now, you've come back so brazenly. It's obvious that you're challenging the emperor's authority. May I ask, what punishment do you deserve? Zhuge Nanhua shouted. Rules, Qin Feiyang mumbled. Suddenly, he grinned and mocked. Do you think these rules will work on me, Qin Feiyang? As for challenging the emperor's authority, I've done so many times in the past. But who can do anything to me? How dare you? Zhuge Nanhua shouted. I'm just that impudent. What do you want? Qin Feiyang slapped Zhuge Nanhua's hand away and turned around to look at him with a smile. Zhuge Nanhua said, You've broken the rules. You'll have to kill all your relatives. Sure. Go ahead. However, I have many relatives. Your emperor is one of them. There's also the Lu family. Oh right, there's also my little brother, the little prince. Go ahead and kill them if you can. Chapter 1341. Hearing this, Zhuge Nanhua's face turned ashen. The 9 familial extermination he mentioned had nothing to do with the emperor. It was only targeted at Qin Feiyang and Qin Feiyang's friends. But he didn't expect that Qin Feiyang would actually seize these words and accuse him of such a heinous crime. Why? You don't dare? Then why are you still so arrogant in front of me? Qin Feiyang smiled in disdain. Before he finished his words, the seal appeared behind Zhuge Nanhua without any warning. Boom! The seal attacked as soon as it appeared. Those sharp claws instantly tore through Zhuge Nanhua's clothes and flesh and entered his qi. Ah! Zhuge Nanhua screamed in agony as the pain pierced through his heart. This change was something that he had never expected. I didn't intend to hurt you, but you people from the Zhuge family don't know what's good for you, always asking for trouble. Tell me, aren't you all asking for trouble? This is really troublesome. It's rare that I want to keep a low profile, but I don't have the chance. Qin Feiyang rubbed his head with a helpless look. Zhuge Nanhua was so angry that he trembled. How could there be such a shameless person in this world? Boss Qin, what should we do? The seal snickered. Qin Feiyang glanced at Zhuge Nanhua and said, Kill him. Don't kill me. Zhuge Nanhua's body trembled violently. His eyes were filled with fear. Where's your backbone? Where's your backbone? As a member of the Zhuge family, you can't be so weak, do you understand? Qin Feiyang lectured him with good intentions. Zhuge Nanhua was going crazy. He was scared and angry at the same time. To be honest, with my strength, I'm definitely nothing in your eyes. But I can't help it. I'm popular and everyone is willing to help me. Qin Feiyang smiled in ridicule. Then, he turned around and strode away. Did you hear that? Kid. You think you can provoke Boss Qin? You really don't know what you're worth. The seal arrogantly raised its claws and poked Zhuge Nanhua's head as it said disdainfully. Get your paws off me. Zhuge Nanhua roared. Yo, that's pretty awesome. I'll poke, so what if I poke you today? Bite me. The seal let out a strange laugh. Just you wait. One day, all of you will die without a burial ground. Zhuge Nanhua roared. Unfortunately, even if such a day comes, you won't have the chance to see it. A ferocious glint flashed across the seal's eyes. It raised its claws and mercilessly slapped at Zhuge Nanhua's head. Wait. But suddenly, Qin Feiyang stopped in his tracks and turned to look at the seal. What happened? The seal asked. Qin Feiyang said, Give him a chance. Let him see the day we die without a burial ground. Ugh. The seal was stunned. Zhuge Nanhua was also shocked. Are you sure? The seal came back to its senses and asked. This was equivalent to letting the tiger return to the mountain. Qin Feiyang nodded, but a playful look flashed past his eyes, and he said, however, the death penalty can be avoided, but the punishment can't be avoided. Strip him naked and throw him into the central square of the first district. Strip him naked. Zhuge Nanhua's body and mind trembled as he roared, you'd better kill me. A supreme expert at the peak of the 9-star War Emperor realm, and an important figure in the Zhuge family, was stripped naked and thrown into the central square, becoming a joke for countless people. This was even crueler than killing him. The seal was stunned for a moment, then laughed evilly. He looked at Qin Feiyang and praised, this move is fun, really fun. Then it waved its claws, and with a poochie sound, the clothes on Zhuge Nanhua's body were torn into pieces. Immediately, a naked body appeared in Qin Feiyang's line of sight. Bastard! I swear, I will not let you off. Zhuge Nanhua covered his lower body with both hands and squatted on the ground. He stared at Qin Feiyang and the seal and roared. I'll be waiting. Qin Feiyang opened a teleportation gate and said, bring him there, come find me at Hao Tian Palace later. All right. The seal shouted and released its emperor's might. It swept up Zhuge Nanhua and rushed towards the teleportation gate. But before it entered the teleportation gate, it suddenly stopped and rolled its eyes. Suddenly, it chuckled and released the pressure. Zhuge Nanhua immediately fell to the ground like a dead dog. Crawl properly, don't move. The seal shouted coldly, and with a sinister laugh, it waved its claws again and again. What are you doing? Qin Feiyang walked forward suspiciously and couldn't help but laugh. On Zhuge Nanhua's back, there was a line of bloody words. I am an old hooligan, I am an old beast, I am an old undying bastard who grew up eating feces. It was just this sentence. How is it? The seal looked at Qin Feiyang with its thieving eyes. Not bad. Qin Feiyang held back his laughter and nodded. Hee hee. The seal grinned and swept up Zhuge Nanhua again, entering the teleportation gate without looking back. After the teleportation gate disappeared, Qin Feiyang couldn't hold it in anymore and laughed out loud. One could imagine how big of a commotion Zhuge Nanhua would cause when he appeared in the central square. Swoosh! At this moment, a white-haired old man flew through the air and landed on top of the pagoda. It's you. It was the Grand Tutor. When enemies met, their eyes were exceptionally red. Be it the Grand Tutor or Qin Feiyang, their eyes were filled with a strong cold light. Yes, it's me. Qin Feiyang said. Why are you here? The Grand Tutor said angrily. Just as he finished speaking, he noticed the bloodstains on the ground. His expression changed slightly, and he hurriedly rushed into the pagoda. Seeing that there was no one in the pagoda, he released his divine might and imprisoned Qin Feiyang. He shouted, Where is Zhuge Nanhua? What did you do to him? If you want to know, go to the central square of the first district yourself. Also, don't use your tortoise's might to imprison me. It will make me very angry. Once I get angry, I can't guarantee that I'll do something out of line. For example, Zhuge Mingyang. Qin Feiyang sneered. The Grand Tutor clenched his fists and stared at Qin Feiyang. In the end, he withdrew his divine might, opened a teleportation gate, and rushed in like lightning. Qin Feiyang sneered, glanced at the back mountain of the Imperial Palace, and also opened a teleportation gate and left. The first district. Central Square. There was a teleportation gate in the square. But unlike ordinary teleportation gates, this teleportation gate was fixed and led to several other districts. Because of this, there was a lot of traffic in the central square every day. For example, there were hundreds of people lining up in front of the teleportation gate. Everyone, come here quickly. I have a surprise for you. Suddenly, a laugh sounded in the air above the square. The people in the square immediately looked up. They saw a seal standing in the air, and beside it was a naked man. What's going on? Everyone was stunned. Although Zhuge Nanhua had been famous for a long time, he rarely appeared in front of people, so many people had only heard of his name and had never seen him in person. This is Zhuge Mingyang's great-grandfather, Zhuge Nanhua. I don't know what happened, but he suddenly came to find me and insisted that I strip him naked and send him to the central square. I have no choice but to do as he said. The seal looked very helpless and withdrew his emperor's might. Zhuge Nanhua screamed and fell in the middle of the square with a bang. You guys take your time to appreciate it. The seal laughed and opened a teleportation gate to leave. Zhuge Nanhua. He is a respected senior of the Zhuge family, and the hall master of the law enforcement hall. How could he do such a thing? He's so old and he's still naked, doesn't he know shame? Everyone surrounded him, their eyes full of disdain. Under everyone's gaze, Zhuge Nanhua even had the heart to die. Especially when he heard everyone's discussion, he wished he could find a hole to hide in. But now, he did not dare to get up. Because once he got up, some parts that should not be exposed would be revealed in front of everyone. This was even more humiliating. Who will save me? He looked helplessly at the crowd around him, but no one came forward. Those women even avoided him, their faces full of disgust. Wait, there seems to be words on his back. Someone was surprised. A middle-aged man walked forward curiously, looked at the bloody words on Zhuge Nanhua's back, and read, I am an old hooligan, I am an old beast, I am an old undying bastard who grew up eating feces. The middle-aged man was dumbfounded when he read the last sentence. The others also looked at each other in dismay. An old undying bastard who eats feces, this is too funny. Everyone actually did not dare to laugh. But there was nothing they could do. It was too funny and they could not hold it in. At the same time, not far from the square, there was a restaurant, Fragrant Moon Restaurant. On the third floor, 2 young men were sitting in a private room, drinking wine. One of them was wearing a purple robe. His body was tall and straight, and his eyebrows were like swords. His entire body was emitting a threatening aura. But throughout the entire process, he did not say a word. He only cared about drinking, and his eyes were extremely cold. If Qin Feiyang was here, he would definitely recognize him as Zhuge Mingyang. The other person was a young man in a black robe. His appearance and temperament were not ordinary either. However, his cultivation was even stronger than Zhuge Mingyang. An 8-star combat emperor. Behind this person, there was a short man in a black robe. He was silent and his face was filled with respect. These 2 people were Zhuge Jinghong and Xia Changjin, who had repeatedly challenged Qin Feiyang. Zhuge Jinghong drank his wine while looking at Zhuge Mingyang. Seeing that Zhuge Mingyang did not say a word, he could not help but raise his eyebrows. Then he put down his wine cup and looked at Zhuge Mingyang. He sighed and said, Mingyang, victory and defeat are common. You don't have to do this. You don't understand. I can lose to anyone, but I can't lose to Qin Feiyang. But now, I have already lost to him twice. How can I endure this? Zhuge Mingyang clenched his fists, and his eyes became more and more cold. I understand. But you can't give up on yourself like this. You still have a long way to go. In the future, there will definitely be a chance to find him and avenge your humiliation. Zhuge Jinghong said. Yes. And Senior Jinghong will also do his best to help you. Xie Changjin smiled flatteringly. Chapter 1342. He wasn't that great in the first place. Otherwise, why didn't he dare to accept your challenge? From what I see, if he didn't have the castle, he's nothing. Xie Changjin snorted, his face full of disdain. But hearing their words, Zhuge Mingyang didn't feel comforted at all. Instead, the anger in his heart became even stronger. Qin Feiyang wasn't that great? Qin Feiyang wasn't anything? Then what was he, the person who lost to Qin Feiyang, considered? He wasn't even worth shit. Zhuge Jinghong and Xia Changjin wanted to comfort him, but in Zhuge Mingyang's ears, it felt like they were humiliating him. Zhuge Jinghong saw that the situation wasn't right and hurriedly explained, "Don't misunderstand, we didn't mean that. Even if you mean that, I don't care. Anyway, in this life, I won't be his opponent." Zhuge Mingyang laughed at himself. He picked up the wine jar on the table and started drinking. He didn't say that there was still the slave seal. Even if he trained hard and surpassed Qin Feiyang, as long as the slave seal was there, he wouldn't be able to turn the tables. Gotcha. Looking at Zhuge Mingyang's self-deprecating appearance, Zhuge Jinghong clenched his fists tightly. His killing intent towards Qin Feiyang became even stronger. Dong! Suddenly, there was a hurried knock on the door. Zhuge Jinghong looked at the door and let go of his fists. He said coldly, "Come in." Clang! The door was pushed open and a waiter hurriedly ran in. What happened? Zhuge Jinghong frowned. The waiter said, "Young masters, something big happened. Quickly go to the square." What big thing? Zhuge Jinghong stood up and looked at the waiter in shock. "You," the waiter stuttered. "Speak." Zhuge Jinghong said angrily. The waiter's eyes trembled and said, "Your foster father was stripped naked and thrown on the square. Now, many people are watching." What? Zhuge Jinghong's expression changed. Zhuge Mingyang also stood up abruptly. The wine jar in his hand fell to the ground and shattered into pieces. Xia Changjin was dumbfounded. Who was Zhuge Nanhua? That was the hall master of the inner hall of the enforcement hall. His authority was monstrous. Someone actually dared to strip him naked and humiliate him in public? Who was so bold? Was he tired of living? The next moment, Zhuge Jinghong and Zhuge Mingyang rushed out of the window. Seeing this, Xia Zhangjin took out a few hundred gold coins, threw them on the table, and hurriedly chased after them. The three of them were in a private room at the back of the Fragrant Moon brothel, so they couldn't see the situation in the square. However, the Fragrant Moon brothel was just across the street from the square. With their cultivation, they would be able to enter the square in the blink of an eye. When they saw Zhuge Nanhua, who was squatting on the ground with a helpless expression on his face, Zhuge Mingyang and Zhuge Jinghong instantly burst into overflowing anger. Godfather! Great-grandfather! The two of them roared and landed beside Zhuge Nanhua at lightning speed. Zhuge Jinghong immediately took out a piece of clothing and wrapped Zhuge Nanhua up. Seeing Zhuge Mingyang and Zhuge Jinghong's arrival, the surrounding crowd immediately shut their mouths and retreated in fear. Godfather, what's going on? Who did this? Zhuge Jinghong squatted on the ground, grabbed Zhuge Nanhua's shoulder and roared with bloodshot eyes. However, Zhuge Nanhua was like a fool. He shrunk his head and glanced at the surrounding crowd. His face was filled with fear and panic. Haven't you embarrassed yourself enough? Quickly take him and leave first. An angry voice sounded in the sky. Everyone looked up and their pupils suddenly shrank. They didn't know when the Grand Tutor had also arrived. Zhuge Jinghong and Zhuge Mingyang looked up at the Grand Tutor. Then, they carried Zhuge Nanhua, opened a portal and hurriedly left. Little bastard, you've gone too far. The Grand Tutor muttered. The murderous intent in his heart was about to go out of control. After the Grand Tutor left, Xia Changjin walked out of the crowd and glanced at the bloodstains on the ground. His face was filled with shock. Who exactly was the person who humiliated Zhuge Nanhua? Was he not afraid of death? There was no suspense. This matter quickly became the talk of the town. Everyone knew about it. When the people of the Zhuge family received this news, they were also furious. Especially Zhuge Wuho, he directly spat out a mouthful of old blood and cried to the sky. The reputation of the Zhuge family was gone just like that. Bright Sky Palace. After so many days, there was no change at all. In the garden, the green grass swayed with the wind. It was full of vitality. Flowers bloomed one after another, attracting countless colorful butterflies and bees. Qin Feiyang stood in the sky above the palace and glanced at everything. Everything seemed so calm and peaceful. However, there were always a few reckless people who came to destroy the good atmosphere here. Outside the garden, in a small green forest, a few figures were sneaking around. Without thinking, he knew that they were the people sent by the emperor to monitor him. However, Qin Feiyang ignored them and rushed into the main hall like lightning. When he entered the main hall, he was immediately stunned. He saw Fatso sitting on the throne at the top of the main hall with his legs crossed, drinking wine and eating melon seeds at the same time. He looked very spirited. Wang Yangfeng and the others were also like this. The whole room was filled with the smell of alcohol. Young master. Suddenly, Wang Yishan saw Qin Feiyang standing at the door and was shocked. He quickly threw away the wine cup. Young master. Boss? Fatso, Wang Yangfeng and the others were stunned. They turned their heads and looked. They all got up and hid the wine cup behind them. Not bad. All of you know how to enjoy yourselves. Qin Feiyang glanced at the crowd and said with an indifferent expression. Wang Yangfeng and the others looked at each other, quickly put down the wine cup and ran towards Qin Feiyang. They were all panicking. Young master, we were wrong. When they came in front of Qin Feiyang, the group of people lowered their heads like a group of children who had done something wrong. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but want to laugh. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang said with a straight face. We shouldn't be greedy for pleasure. And we shouldn't be tempted by fatso. We are willing to accept young master's punishment. Wang Yangfeng said. Fatso's face suddenly darkened and he said angrily, Old Wang, what do you mean by that? When did Fat Lord seduce you? Wang Yishan said, You were the one who seduced us. You have to take full responsibility. That's right. You know that it's our first time in the outside world and everything is new to us. You even encouraged us to drink. You have bad intentions. The others also said with righteous indignation. You old guys are too unreasonable. Everyone drank the wine and ate the food together. Why is it Fat Lord's responsibility alone? If you have the ability, spit it out. Fatso was instantly annoyed. But when Qin Feiyang glared at him, he immediately shut up. In fact, even without Wang Yangfeng and the others saying, he knew that it must be Fatso's doing. Because Wang Yangfeng and the others were very simple people. If no one instigated them, it was impossible for them to do such a thing. Qin Feiyang retracted his gaze and looked at Wang Yangfeng and the others, saying, In fact, I don't object to you drinking. After all, everyone drinks wine, including me. But I'm very angry that you drank at this time. Do you know why? Everyone shook their heads. Because you're in the palace. There are people everywhere who want to harm you. What if you drink too much and are plotted against? Qin Feiyang said angrily. So young master is concerned about us? Wang Yangfeng and the others looked at each other, feeling extremely touched but also ashamed. Qin Feiyang said, I hope this won't happen again. Yes. The group of people nodded respectfully. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled, asking, Did Fatso tell you about the opportunity to become a god? Yes. Everyone nodded. Then you guys go to the castle. Strive to raise your cultivation to the peak of 9-star War Emperor in the shortest time possible, and then comprehend the profound meaning of becoming a god. Qin Feiyang said. Okay. Everyone replied, looking rather excited. Because they already knew that the time rules in the castle were different from the outside world. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent everyone to the castle. Then, he looked at Fatso. Fatso smiled embarrassedly and said, Boss, I saw that they were bored, so I asked them to have a few drinks together. There's no other meaning. Do I look like an idiot to you? Qin Feiyang walked in front of Fatso and said. Fatso shook his head like he was pounding garlic. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him. Fortunately, he came back in time. Otherwise, he didn't know what Fatso would do to Wang Yangfeng and the others. He sat on the chair and asked, "Have you found any clues about the disappearance of Lin Yi and the mermaid princess?" "Yes." Fatso nodded. "Tell me quickly." Qin Feiyang didn't have much hope at first, but he didn't expect that Fatso actually found it. Fatso didn't speak. Instead, he took out a letter from his cosmos pouch and handed it to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang was taken aback. He took it in his hand suspiciously, opened the envelope, and took out the letter paper inside. There was a line of small words written on the letter paper. "We are fine, don't worry." But there was nothing else except this line of small words. Fatso said, "You and Lin Yi have been together for 5 years. You can be regarded as childhood sweethearts. You should be able to see that this is her handwriting." Qin Feiyang nodded. These words were indeed written by Lin Yi. Qin Feiyang looked up at Fatso and asked, "Where did you find this?" "At your home in Iron Ox Town." At that time, old Wang and I searched all over the 9 provinces, but we didn't find any clues. So, we went to Iron Ox Town. Because I thought that if Lin Yi would leave a clue, she would definitely choose to stay in Iron Ox Town. After all, that's where she grew up. But in the end, there was no harvest in Iron Ox Town. Then, I took old Wang and the others to the courtyard by the lake. I was going to give up, but when I entered the hall, I immediately found this letter on the table. I also know Lin Yi. I recognized her handwriting, so I came back with this letter. Fatso said. In other words, after we left, she went to the lake to find us? Chapter 1343. Do you think so? Fatso frowned. Otherwise? Qin Feiyang asked rhetorically. If Lin Yi didn't go to him, why would the letter appear in that room? Fat Lord doesn't think so. Fatso shook his head. What do you think? Qin Feiyang asked. Fat Lord thinks that she is deliberately hiding from you. Fatso said. Hiding from me? Qin Feiyang frowned. Yes. She is not only hiding from you, but also from all of us, including Luo Qinxue and Yan Nanshan. The reason is simple. If she is not hiding from us, then she can go to Luo Qinxue and Yan Nanshan and talk to them face to face. Or, she can give the letter to Luo Qinxue and Yan Nanshan and ask them to pass it to you. But she didn't do that. It's obvious that she doesn't want to see us. Fatso said. Qin Feiyang frowned. After a while, he nodded and said, It makes sense. Then he smiled and said, Not bad. You actually see the problem so clearly. Fatso said, Fat Lord thought for a long time before he figured it out. Qin Feiyang said, Then why doesn't she want to see us? Fat Lord is also puzzled by this question. It's reasonable that Lin Yi doesn't want to see you. After all, your relationship with her is complicated. But the mermaid princess is deeply in love with you, and you have feelings for the mermaid princess. Normally, if she is going somewhere, she will definitely find a way to tell you so that you won't worry. But she actually left without saying a word like Lin Yi. What's the problem here? Fatso frowned. After pondering for a long time, Qin Feiyang let out a long sigh and said, No matter where they are now, as long as they are safe. Fatso nodded. Qin Feiyang took a deep breath and calmed the restlessness in his heart. He asked, Did Lu Xingchen look for me these past few days? Yes. It's not just Lu Xingchen. The state preceptor also sent Yan Wei to look for you every day, but Fat Lord replied to them according to your instructions. Fatso smiled. What about Shenmei? Qin Feiyang said. According to Lu Xingchen, the state preceptor has been personally watching over Shenmei these past few days. Moreover, he hasn't left her side at all, so he hasn't been able to find an opportunity. And he looked for you because he wanted you to help him come up with ideas. Fatso said. Watch over them personally. Qin Feiyang was startled. He shook his head and said with a smile, "This old guy has learned to be smart this time, but it's useless." Yeah. Until now, he still doesn't know that Shen Mei can't threaten us at all. And he has always thought that the person who has been spying on him these past few days is you, but it's actually Lu Xingchen. Fatso sneered. Lu Xingchen has been spying on him all this time? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Fatso nodded. Qin Feiyang pondered and said, "In that case, Shen Mei is now out of danger." Are you kidding? With the state preceptor personally watching over her, how could he save Shen Mei? And I heard from Yan Wei that the state preceptor has been using his divine sense to cover the place where Shen Mei is imprisoned. As long as Lu Xingchen enters with a spatial divine item, he will immediately be discovered. Fatso said. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said with a smile, "No, no, no, the state preceptor left just now." What? Fatso was shocked. Qin Feiyang briefly explained what had happened in the pagoda. Fatso was dumbfounded. He had caused such a big commotion the moment he came back. However, this was more like his boss's style. Fatso gave him a thumbs up and gloated, "Zhuge Nanhua has an important position in both the Zhuge family and the temple. Now that such a thing has happened, everyone in the Zhuge family must be mad. It's best if one or two of them die from anger." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, and then said, "But why hasn't the seal returned yet? It's been so long, could something have happened? Speak of the devil." Whoosh! The seal rushed into the main hall like lightning and shouted, "Boss Qin, something bad has happened. Boss has drunk too much and is acting crazy in the inner city." Acting crazy? What nonsense are you talking about? Isn't boss doing well here? Fatso frowned. The boss it's talking about is not me, but Lei Bao. Qin Feiyang said. Lei Bao? Fatso was stunned, and then there was a trace of disdain in his eyes. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Don't bother about it. In the few days you were away, it has been causing trouble in the imperial city every day. If you don't let it suffer a little, it won't know how to restrain itself. Don't you like to cause trouble too?" Qin Feiyang was speechless. They were all the same, what right did he have to criticize others? Can I be the same? At most, I'll drink here, but what about it? You don't know how it has been tormenting these few days. Fatso was dissatisfied. What did you do? The seal looked at him curiously. At first, it was causing trouble in the imperial palace. And the targets were all concubines and princesses. It either peeped at them bathing or stole their underwear. Those concubines and princesses have come to you more than once to reason with you. The most outrageous thing is that it even stole the imperial empress's underwear and openly took it to the treasure pavilion to auction. You didn't see it. When the emperor heard about this, his nose was crooked from anger. Fatso said in disdain. The seal and Qin Feiyang looked at each other. Stealing the imperial empress's underwear to auction? This bastard is too immoral. Qin Feiyang asked, "Does the treasure pavilion dare to auction it?" Of course not. That's the imperial empress's underwear. Who dares to play with it? But that guy relied on its strength and directly occupied the auction house, forcing everyone to bid. In the end, it was auctioned at a high price of 300 million. Fatso said helplessly. Qin Feiyang's face twitched. 300 million for a piece of underwear? That's crazy. After causing trouble in the imperial palace, it went to other major cities to cause trouble. In short, every place it went to would be chaotic because of it. Now, it's notorious. When everyone sees it, they can't wait to skin it. Fatso shook his head. Although he was a bastard in some matters, compared to Lei Bao, he was thousands of miles away. That's not right. It caused so much trouble. Didn't the emperor think of a way to deal with it? Qin Feiyang was doubtful. Who said that? The emperor sent the commander of the Kirin army to capture it, but in the end, he was beaten up by it. You also know that with its strength, no one can do anything to it except a pseudo-god. And the pseudo-gods in the imperial palace are all sealed. They can't undo the seal to deal with it. After all, every time they undo the seal, they will lose some of their lifespan. For pseudo-gods like them who are nearing the end of their lifespan, every minute and second is very precious. Of course. That guy knows his limits. Although it's mischievous, it has never harmed anyone's life. In the end, the emperor had no choice but to turn a blind eye and let it do as it pleases. Fatso said. What about the state preceptor? Hasn't he been looking for a bargaining chip to blackmail me? Qin Feiyang said. You have Yan Wei to thank for this. Yan Wei told me that the state preceptor actually had plans to deal with Lei Bao, but Yan Wei told him that Lei Bao had only been with you for a short time and might not be able to blackmail you. He also said that instead of spending time to capture Lei Bao, it's better to let it cause trouble. Because the more trouble Lei Bao causes, the deeper the grudge between you and the emperor. When the state preceptor heard this, he felt that it made sense, so he didn't make a move on Lei Bao. Fatso said. I see. He has to keep an eye on the state preceptor and clean up Lei Bao's mess at the same time. It's really hard on him. Qin Feiyang sighed. That's right. That's why you should let it suffer a little. Once it has suffered enough, it will naturally become obedient. Fatso snorted coldly. No, if Shenmei has really been rescued by Lu Xingchen, the state preceptor will definitely look for the next target immediately. Qin Feiyang finished speaking and looked at the seal. Didn't I tell you to come back immediately after throwing Zhuge Nanhua at the plaza? Why did you go look for your boss? I didn't specifically look for him. I saw that there was nothing going on, so I wanted to take a look. In the end, I went to the inner city and saw my boss. The seal said. Qin Feiyang frowned. Then why didn't you bring him back directly? I wanted to too. But he's completely drunk now and won't listen to anyone. The seal said helplessly. Qin Feiyang said angrily, how troublesome, did he go to the Wuhou government to cause trouble? The seal said carefully, he's currently in a Wuhou government, I think it's Qin Wuhou. Qin Wuhou? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Previously, he killed Qin Wuhou's biological son, Feng Yun, in the Qin Wuhou government. Now, Lei Bao went to the Qin Wuhou government to cause trouble? Was this a coincidence? This is bad. A few days ago, I told him that you have a grudge with Qin Wuhou. It can't be that he's going to help you deal with Qin Wuhou, right? Fatso's face changed as he said in surprise. Why can't there be anyone who can stop me from worrying? Qin Feiyang was furious to the extreme, and said in a deep voice, quickly follow me to find him. If Lei Bao really helped him deal with Qin Wuhou, then he might take advantage of his drunkenness and start a massacre there. Although the various Wuhou government had basically declined, their status was still there. If Lei Bao really started a massacre there, then the fake god in the back mountain of the Emperor Palace would definitely not sit idly by. However, just as he opened the teleportation gate, a figure appeared out of thin air in the hall. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. He turned his head and saw that the person was Lu Xingchen. Lu Xingchen sized up Qin Feiyang and said in surprise, how many days have you been in seclusion? You have already broken through to the 2-star War Emperor? Isn't your speed a little too fast? He still didn't know that Qin Feiyang's ancient castle had already undergone a change. Likewise. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, with a thought. Wang Yangfeng and the others appeared, and said in a low voice, you guys go with the seal, no matter what, you have to bring that guy back for me. Yes. Wang Yangfeng and the others respectfully replied, then followed behind the seal and entered the teleportation gate. Lu Xingchen looked at the backs of Wang Yangfeng and the others, his eyes flashing slightly. He looked at Qin Feiyang and laughed. There's a group of top-grade fierce beasts by your side, it must be a headache. His words carried a hint of schadenfreude. Obviously. He had already guessed what Wang Yangfeng and the others were going to do. No, on the contrary, I like them a lot, because although they are bastards, they are loyal to me. Chapter 1344. Fatso stood behind Qin Feiyang. Lu Xingchen walked to the front of the chair and sat down. He looked at Qin Feiyang and smiled. Actually, I'm quite envious of you. Envious of me? Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked. Envious of you having such a group of loyal subordinates. Lu Xingchen said. Don't you have them too? What's there to be envious of? Qin Feiyang smiled. This is different. My subordinates are basically my descendants. It's natural for them to be loyal to me. But your subordinates are all strangers who you met by chance, but they are loyal to you. This is the fundamental difference. Lu Xingchen shook his head and sighed. Then do you know where the source of this difference is? Although they are working for me, I treat them as friends and family. But you treat them as your real subordinates. Qin Feiyang said. Friends, family, Lu Xingchen muttered to himself and then laughed. You were born in the royal family. It's impossible that you don't know that for people like us, friends and family are too distant. I agree with that. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. He looked at Lu Xingchen and said, Look at your happy face. You must have encountered something good. Huh, Lu Xingchen laughed and said, I have to thank you. If you didn't lure the Grand Tutor away, I wouldn't have found the chance to save Shenmei. Ah. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Did Lu Xingchen think that by humiliating Zhuge Nanhua, he was helping him lure the Grand Tutor away? On one hand, you humiliated Zhuge Nanhua and humiliated the Zhuge family. On the other hand, you took the opportunity to save Shenmei. This is killing two birds with one stone. Brother Qin, this is a brilliant move. Lu Xingchen gave a thumbs up and praised. Qin Feiyang and Fatso looked at each other. Lu Xingchen really thought so? Lu Xingchen added, I owe you one this time. If you need anything in the future, just let me know. Ugh. Qin Feiyang and Qin Haodong were stunned again. They were the ones who planned to kidnap Shenmei. This time, the Mu family's vitality was greatly damaged, and it was also their plan. Now, Lu Xingchen actually wanted to thank them? Fatso chuckled and said, Boss, isn't this the so-called repaying evil with good? You think too much. Now, Lu Xingchen is thanking us because he doesn't know that all of this is a trap set up by us. If they knew, they would probably want to kill us. Qin Feiyang snickered. However, he had to admit that looking at Lu Xingchen right now made him very happy. In the past, it was Lu Xingchen who schemed against him. This time, he had finally gotten back at Lu Xingchen, and he had even paid him back with interest. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, We are partners. It's only right to help you. Why are you being so polite? You're treating me like an outsider, right? Huh, Lu Xingchen laughed happily and said, It was a wise decision to choose to cooperate with you. Of course. Whether it's you or boss, both of you are as cunning as old foxes. The two of you working together is simply a match made in heaven. Fatso chuckled. But when they heard this, Qin Feiyang and Lu Xingchen's faces couldn't help but darken. Match made in heaven? It seems a bit inappropriate to use this adjective to describe two grown men like them, right? Huh, it's not a good choice of words. It should be said that you're a jackal and a leopard, a perfect match. Fatso snickered. Their faces darkened and their veins bulged. This damn Fatso was getting more and more ridiculous. The Imperial Preceptor has arrived. But suddenly, a loud voice could be heard coming from the outside. You're here so soon. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He should be here for Zhuge Mingyang. I'll leave. Lu Xingchen got up and said. Leave? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said, Shenmei has just been rescued. She must still be very scared now. You'd better go back and comfort her. No need. Shenmei's endurance is not as weak as you said. Lu Xingchen faintly smiled and disappeared without a trace after he finished speaking. Qin Feiyang immediately frowned. Fatso was a little puzzled and said, "Boss, why did you ask Lu Xingqian to go back? The Imperial Preceptor will definitely talk about Zhuge Shenfeng later. I don't want Lu Xingqian to know about Zhuge Shenfeng's existence. But this guy seems to have noticed that I'm deliberately hiding something from him. He doesn't plan to leave." Qin Feiyang said secretly. "Then what should we do?" Fatso said. "Act according to the situation," Qin Feiyang secretly said. Then, he looked outside the door and said indifferently, "Come in." Da-da. Accompanied by a series of steady footsteps, two figures entered the main hall one after the other. It was the Imperial Preceptor and Yen Wei. The Imperial Preceptor looked angry. Yen Wei's eyes were also filled with a strong cold light. Qin Feiyang glanced at Yen Wei, then looked at the Imperial Preceptor and said with a smile, "I've been in seclusion recently. Something happened and I can't get up to greet the Imperial Preceptor. I hope the Imperial Preceptor can forgive me." "Something happened?" The Imperial Preceptor smiled coldly and said, "Why didn't I see anything wrong with you when you humiliated Zhuge Nanhua? Looks like I can't hide from the Imperial Preceptor. But why do you have to expose me, Imperial Preceptor? Don't you know that if you're too obvious, it will affect the relationship between both parties?" Qin Feiyang said helplessly. "Do you still need to protect the relationship between you and me?" The Imperial Preceptor sneered. Qin Feiyang said calmly, "Since the Imperial Preceptor has said so, I won't stand on ceremony. If the Imperial Preceptor is here for Zhuge Nanhua, please leave." "What's with your attitude?" Yen Wei shouted. Qin Feiyang's eyes turned cold. He looked at Yen Wei and said, "Looks like the lesson I taught you last time wasn't enough. I was careless last time. Try me again if you dare." Yen Wei stared at him, unwilling to be outdone. "Huh," Qin Feiyang laughed. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. He said word by word, "Are you provoking me?" Yen Wei said. "Shut up." The Imperial Preceptor shouted. "Sir," Yen Wei wanted to say something, but the Imperial Preceptor's face darkened. He said, "I'll say it one last time. Without my order, don't say anything." "Yes." Yen Wei's eyes trembled. He replied respectfully and went silent. However, when he looked at Qin Feiyang, his eyes were even colder than before. The Imperial Preceptor raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang. He said, "I'm not here for Zhuge Nanhua." He knew. Since it had happened, it was useless to say anything more. The reason for that was because it was impossible for Qin Feiyang to apologize to him for this matter. Furthermore, it was impossible for him to compensate Zhuge Nanhua for his mental loss. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "As long as it's not for Zhuge Nanhua, everything can be discussed. Please have a seat." The Imperial Preceptor glanced at the seat beside him. A hint of anger flashed across his eyes. Ever since the day he became the Imperial Preceptor, other than when he was with the Emperor, he had always been the one sitting at the top, looking down on others. Just like the various Marshal Marquis mansion. As long as he went, the various Marshal Marquis would take the initiative to give up the main seat. And now, Qin Feiyang actually let him sit below. This was a complete humiliation to him. So, rather than suffer this humiliation, it was better to stand and talk. Qin Feiyang said, "If Lord Imperial Preceptor doesn't sit, then you are looking down on me." Of course, he knew what the Imperial Preceptor was thinking. But he had the final say. Of course. He did this to deliberately suppress the Imperial Preceptor's arrogance and anger this damned old man. How would this old man dare to look down on you, Qin Feiyang? The Imperial Preceptor chuckled and walked to the seat that Lu Xingqian had just sat on. He sat on it and asked with a smile, "Are you satisfied now?" Although he was beaming with joy, in fact, he was about to go crazy in his heart. How could he not know Qin Feiyang's purpose? But now, he could only endure. Look at what Lord Imperial Preceptor said, "This junior is purely out of kindness." After all, Lord, you are already old. If you stand and talk, this junior can't bear it. Qin Feiyang laughed. The imperial preceptor clenched his hands tightly and said with a smile, then shouldn't this old man thank you? No need to thank me. This is what this junior should do. After all, this junior is also a person who respects the old and loves the young. And this junior has also been educating the people around me. When I meet a highly respected old man like Lord Imperial Preceptor, sorry, it slipped out of my mouth. Wait, it's not a slip of the tongue, you see, I'm so excited that I'm a little incoherent. Lord, please don't mind. What this junior wants to say is that when you meet a highly respected old man like you must be respectful. Qin Feiyang said. The Imperial Preceptor's old face was dark, and his veins were bulging. Especially when he heard the old man Qin Feiyang's self-made excuse, he instantly felt uncomfortable. But there was no other way. He could only swallow his anger now. Whoosh! Taking a deep breath, the Imperial Preceptor loosened his fist and said, let's not talk nonsense. Let's get to the point. Okay. Please go ahead. Qin Feiyang nodded repeatedly. The Imperial Preceptor said in a deep voice, how can I remove Zhuge Mingyang's slave seal? And release Zhuge Shenfeng? Zhuge Shenfeng? Inside the spatial divine item. Lu Xingchen was slightly stunned when he heard the Imperial Preceptor's words. Qin Feiyang also raised his eyebrows. What he was worried about had happened. However, Lu Xingchen might not know who Zhuge Shenfeng was. After all, when the Tianyang Empire was destroyed and Mu Tianyang was suppressed, Zhuge Shenfeng and the Imperial Preceptor were still unknown. The Imperial Preceptor saw that Qin Feiyang was silent for a long time and said impatiently, tell me your conditions. Qin Feiyang glanced at him and transmitted his voice to Yan Wei, I asked you to investigate Immortal He. Have you investigated it? Yes, he is now hiding in the law enforcement hall. Yan Wei secretly said. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed coldly. He looked at the Imperial Preceptor and said, well, I won't dawdle. I have 2 conditions. First, hand over Immortal He. Second, I want Zhuge Mingyang's divine art and 3,000 incarnations. 3,000 incarnations. The Imperial Preceptor's eyes darkened and said angrily, young man, this old man advises you to quit while you are ahead. Don't ask for too much. Is this too much? I originally planned to exchange your life for it. Qin Feiyang said. The Imperial Preceptor's eyes were filled with murderous intent again. Lord Imperial Preceptor, as a fake god, you should know that no matter how strong the divine art is, it is just a worldly possession. Can it be compared to Zhuge Mingyang's life? Chapter 1345. The Imperial Tutor went silent, as if it was difficult to make a decision. Let's not talk about Zhuge Mingyang's talent, let's talk about his comprehension. Before stepping into the war god realm, he was able to comprehend the profound meaning of the divine art, and raise the first and second style of the Azure Dragon secret art to the level of a divine art. May I ask, are you willing to let such a genius die young? Qin Feiyang said again. The Imperial Tutor's gaze trembled, and he said in a deep voice, even if this old man agrees, the divine art cannot be passed on, how can I give you the 3,000 incarnations? Don't fool me. Although I don't know much, I still know this. The divine art cannot be passed on, because once it is passed on to others, you will lose it, so no one is willing to pass on the divine art to others. Qin Feiyang said. The divine art is not comparable to the battle art. The divine art, apart from the inheritance, is unique. It means that only one person can have it. Take the 3,000 incarnations for example. If today, Zhuge Mingyang gave him the 3,000 incarnations, then Zhuge Mingyang himself would lose the 3,000 incarnations. And it would be a complete loss, never to be found again. The same is true. After Qin Feiyang obtains the 3,000 incarnations, if he wants to pass it on to others, he will lose it forever. Therefore, To anyone, a deity art was irreplaceable. Qin Feiyang laughed, I am very sincere, so please, don't play these little tricks, it's useless. The imperial tutor's face sank. In the end. He gritted his teeth and nodded, okay, this old man promises you, I will use the 3,000 incarnations and immortal Shen in exchange for Zhuge Mingyang and Zhuge Shenfeng. Qin Feiyang said, wait, don't get it wrong, I didn't say that I will also give you Zhuge Shenfeng. You, the imperial tutor was furious. Lord, don't be angry, we also have a bargaining chip. Yan Wei said in a low voice. Yeah. The imperial preceptor was stunned, and his anger immediately subsided. He looked at Qin Feiyang with a smile and said, boy, although the lives of Zhuge Mingyang and Zhuge Shenfeng are in your hands, I also have someone in my hands. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, are you talking about Shenmei? That's right. The state preceptor nodded. Huh, Qin Feiyang laughed loudly, his voice filled with mockery. What are you laughing at? The state preceptor raised his eyebrows. I'm laughing at your naivety. Yes, I admit that Shenmei can indeed threaten me. But now, why don't you go back and see if Shenmei is still here? Qin Feiyang said. The state preceptor raised his eyebrows. What was the meaning of this? Could it be? His body trembled as he hurriedly looked at Yan Wei and shouted, go back and take a look. Yes. Yan Wei nodded and immediately opened the portal and walked in. Qin Feiyang was not in a hurry. He took out a tea set, brewed a pot of tea, and leisurely tasted it. Throughout the whole process, the state preceptor was paying attention to Qin Feiyang's expression. The more he looked, the more surprised he became. The current Qin Feiyang was too calm, and there was no trace of panic at all. Buzz. Half a cup of tea's time passed. The state preceptor took out an image crystal, and Yan Wei's image appeared. Yan Wei said anxiously, Lord, something bad has happened. Shenmei is missing. What? The state preceptor's expression changed and he asked, did you look for other places? Yan Wei nodded and said in a deep voice, this subordinate searched everywhere in the vicinity, but in the end, at this point, Yan Wei did not need to continue. The state preceptor already understood. He turned to look at Qin Feiyang and said, you can't be so fast. I only left for a while. Haven't you been obedient? Thousands of changes can happen in an instant. It means that many changes can happen in an instant. Qin Feiyang said indifferently. Impossible. Although I just left, I set up a divine power barrier around Shenmei. With your ability, you can't break it. Even if you can break it, you can't do it silently. The state preceptor shook his head in disbelief. Divine power barrier. Qin Feiyang's gaze trembled as he looked at Fatso. Fatso's eyes were also filled with disbelief. Set up a divine power barrier? Everyone knew. Once a divine power barrier was set up, the owner of the barrier would immediately sense anyone who touched it. But why did the state preceptor not notice when Lu Xingqian saved Shenmei? It seemed that he had to find time to ask Lu Xingqian. Qin Feiyang temporarily put aside the doubts in his heart and said indifferently, nothing is impossible for me, Qin Feiyang. Now let's talk again. Do you still have a bargaining chip? The state preceptor's heart sank. If you don't have any other bargaining chip, then there's no other way. You can only do as I say. Qin Feiyang laughed. Damn it. The state preceptor was so angry that he blew his beard and glared. He turned to look at Yan Wei and said, bring Master Shen and Zhuge Mingyang to me. Yes. Yan Wei respectfully responded, and the virtual image quickly dissipated. The state preceptor put away the image crystal, looked up at Qin Feiyang, and said, I have changed my mind now. I want to use 3,000 incarnations and Master Shen to exchange for Zhuge Shenfeng. Huh, Lord State Preceptor, are you kidding? You want to exchange Master Shen and Shenju for Zhuge Shenfeng? Qin Feiyang laughed. The state preceptor's face was gloomy. He had already expected this result. Although Zhuge Mingyang's comprehension was really good, compared to a fake god like Zhuge Shenfeng, he was still a little worse. The state preceptor asked, "Then what do you want to let Zhuge Shenfeng go?" "Let me think about this. When I think of something, I will tell you." Qin Feiyang laughed. "Then you'd better not make me wait too long. Because you know me. When I lose my patience, I won't even care about my own life, let alone Zhuge Shenfeng," the state preceptor said sternly. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, and said, "I know. Don't worry, I won't make you wait too long. But now I am really curious. What kind of face is hiding under your skin?" The state preceptor's pupils contracted. It seemed that this little bastard already knew his true identity. Whoosh! Soon, Yan Wei, Zhuge Mingyang, and Master Shen appeared in the main hall out of thin air. When he saw Qin Feiyang, Zhuge Mingyang's eyes suddenly flashed with shocking killing intent. But Master Shen's face was full of horror. However, when he thought of the state preceptor's background, he was full of confidence again. He looked at Qin Feiyang and sneered, "I didn't expect that we would meet again after so long." "Yes. I also didn't expect that you would rely on the state preceptor again. Are you worthy of those people in the village?" Qin Feiyang said. A wise man submits to circumstances. The state preceptor is a dignified fake god. He is powerful and has a high position. If I don't rely on him, should I rely on you? Do you have this qualification?" Master Shen laughed disdainfully. He didn't know that the state preceptor had sold him out. He was showing off his power. The state preceptor coldly glanced at Master Shen, looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "I have brought him here. You can deal with him as you wish." Deal with him? Zhuge Mingyang and Master Shen were stunned. What was the state preceptor talking about? Who was he going to deal with? Suddenly, Zhuge Mingyang seemed to think of something and glanced at Master Shen. The people present, except for them, were only Qin Feiyang and Fatso. But he could imagine that it was certainly not Qin Feiyang and Fatso. Then, only their side was left. Yan Wei was certainly not, after all, it was Yan Wei who brought them here. The state preceptor was naturally even more impossible. So now, only he and Master Shen were left. Although he didn't know what was going on, Zhuge Mingyang believed that the person the state preceptor was talking about was certainly not him. Then only Master Shen was left. In other words, the person who was going to be dealt with was Master Shen. Master Shen quickly realized this problem. He looked at the state preceptor in panic and carefully asked, "Your Excellency State Preceptor, who was the person you were going to deal with?" "You." The state preceptor didn't hide anything and directly said. "What?" Master Shen's face turned pale and said in surprise, "Why? Did I do something wrong?" The state preceptor was about to speak. Yan Wei disdainfully said, "Your Excellency, he is just a dog. Why do you need to explain so much to him?" "You shut up." Master Shen suddenly became angry. He stared at Yan Wei and shouted, "You are also a dog. What qualifications do you have to talk about me? I am different from you. I joined the state preceptor and didn't betray anyone. But you betrayed all your people." Yan Wei sarcastically smiled, looked at the state preceptor and said, "Your Excellency, this person is a villain who only cares about profit. Now he can betray his people, he will certainly betray you in the future. So for this kind of person, don't have any sympathy." "It makes sense." The state preceptor nodded and indifferently glanced at Master Shen. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Hurry up, don't waste everyone's time." Master Shen's eyes trembled. He quickly knelt at the feet of the state preceptor and begged, "Your Excellency, I swear that I will always follow you in this life. If I betray you, may I be struck by lightning. Please don't give me to Qin Feiyang, okay?" He knew. Once he fell into the hands of Qin Feiyang, there would be no way to survive. However, in the face of Master Shen's pleading, the state preceptor's face was indifferent. He didn't even look at him. Young Master Qin, Your Excellency Qin, I know I was wrong. Please spare my life. I will turn over a new leaf and make up for my previous mistakes. Seeing that the state preceptor was indifferent, Master Shen knew that there was no hope. He crawled in front of Qin Feiyang and knelt on the steps. Pitiful Qin Feiyang. Get lost. Qin Feiyang shouted and directly kicked Master Shen's chest. Bang bang bang. Master Shen immediately rolled down the steps like a rubber ball. His nose was bruised and his eyes were swollen. Qin Feiyang looked down at him contemptuously and said, Do you think I can't do anything to you if you follow the state preceptor? Ridiculous, no one in the world can protect the people that I, Qin Feiyang, want to kill. Yes, I was naive, I was confused, I thought I was smart, but now, I really know I was wrong. I beg you, Your Excellency, please spare my dog life. I swear, I will be by your side in the future, like an ox or a horse. His life was at stake. How could Master Shen care about the pain? He quickly got up again and crawled to Qin Feiyang's feet, begging with tears and snot. I feel disgusted looking at people like you. You still want to stay by my side? Are you dreaming? Go find your clansmen and repent properly. Who knows, you might even be able to leave a complete corpse. Chapter 1346. Looking at the disappearance of Master Shen, the state preceptor's eyes couldn't help but surge with a monstrous fury. Because he knew that Master Shen must have been sent to the ancient pagoda by Qin Feiyang. The ancient pagoda and everything in it originally belonged to him, but now it became Qin Feiyang's reliance to deal with him. How hateful. The state preceptor was so obvious that Qin Feiyang certainly knew what he was thinking at the moment. With a smile, he said, Next, please hand over the 3,000 incarnations. What? Hand over the 3,000 incarnations. Zhuge Mingyang's expression changed. He turned to look at the state preceptor and said, What's going on? Give him the 3,000 incarnations. The state preceptor said expressionlessly, trying to control the anger in his heart. Ancestor, Zhuge Mingyang was very anxious. The 3,000 incarnations were his strongest means, and the only chance to compete with Qin Feiyang. Now he was asked to give the 3,000 incarnations to Qin Feiyang? He couldn't accept it. Once he lost the 3,000 incarnations, he would have no confidence to fight with Qin Feiyang in the future. The state preceptor suddenly turned to stare at Zhuge Mingyang and roared in exasperation, Do you think I want to give him the 3,000 incarnations? But this is the only condition for Qin Feiyang to lift the slave seal. If you don't want to lift the slave seal, you can refuse to hand over the 3,000 incarnations. Zhuge Mingyang's eyes trembled. It turned out that the 3,000 incarnations were used to exchange for lifting the slave seal. He closed his eyes in pain. He didn't expect that he, Zhuge Mingyang, would be reduced to such a situation. He was pressed to the ground without any resistance. The state preceptor sighed, Child, I know you are unwilling, but you have to remember that where there is life, there is hope. Where there is life, there is hope, Zhuge Mingyang murmured. Yes. Only by staying alive would there be hope for revenge. He opened his eyes and looked at Imperial Advisor before he raised his head to look at Qin Feiyang. He laughed and said, It's just a divine art, what's the harm in giving it to you? Boom. His body shuddered as a golden seal flew out from the top of his head. It was emitting an obscure aura with an oppressive aura. The seal was rectangular in shape. It was about 2 fingers wide and 1 finger long. It was entirely pure gold and surrounded by divine light. There were 4 words attached to it, 3,000 clones. That was right. This was the divine talisman of the 3,000 incarnations. Qin Feiyang's eyes sparkled. Puff. As soon as the divine talisman appeared, Zhuge Mingyang spat out a mouthful of blood, his face pale. This meant that he had completely lost this divine art. Whoosh. Following closely. Zhuge Mingyang waved his hand, and the divine talisman turned into a waterfall and flew into Qin Feiyang's head. Immediately, a huge amount of information flowed into Qin Feiyang's mind. Zhuge Mingyang said in a low voice, "I've given you the 3,000 incarnations. Help me remove the slave seal." Although he had given the 3,000 incarnations to Qin Feiyang without hesitation, he was actually very unwilling. He was about to go crazy. "Don't worry. I need to verify it." Qin Feiyang laughed and closed his eyes to feel it carefully. Time passed by. About half an hour later, Qin Feiyang finally opened his eyes. He didn't say a single word of nonsense, and directly removed the slave seal. "Although you've obtained the 3,000 incarnations, you still have a long way to go. I won't let you continue to be so arrogant." Zhuge Mingyang glared at Qin Feiyang with resentment, opened the portal and turned to leave. "You're welcome to come again next time," Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Zhuge Mingyang's body stiffened and his eyes burned with anger. "Come again next time? To give you the divine art? That's too much." Seeing that the situation was not good, the Imperial Preceptor quickly turned around and dragged Zhuge Mingyang into the portal and said, "He's deliberately provoking you. Don't be fooled. There's still a long way to go. Let's wait and see." Yan Wei glanced at Qin Feiyang and followed him into the portal. The three of them soon disappeared. Fatso laughed secretly. "This old Yen is really good at acting. If I didn't know him well, I would definitely think that he has turned the act into reality and joined the Imperial Preceptor. After all, the older the ginger, the spicier it is. You have to learn from him," Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Fatso was not convinced. Swish. At this moment, Lu Xingchen appeared, shook his head and sighed. "I've been wondering why Brother Qin didn't kill Zhuge Mingyang back then. So it's because of the 3,000 incarnations." Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "Zhuge Mingyang is a treasure in the Imperial Preceptor's eyes, but in my eyes, he's just a clown. It doesn't matter whether I kill him or not. The number one prodigy of the Imperial capital was actually called a clown by you? Brother Qin's vision and breadth of mind are indeed incomparable to ordinary people. But, I agree. Compared to the value of the 3,000 incarnations, Zhuge Mingyang's life is really nothing," Lu Xingchen said with a smile. If Zhuge Mingyang were to hear their conversation, he would probably be so angry that he would vomit blood on the spot. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and asked, "Is there anything else?" Lu Xingchen nodded and said, "There is a small matter that puzzles me. I heard you mention Zhuge Shenfeng just now. Who is this person?" As expected, Qin Feiyang secretly sneered and said, "Go and investigate yourself. Anyway, you already know the name Zhuge Shenfeng. It's not difficult to investigate. Wouldn't it be faster if you just tell me directly?" Lu Xingchen frowned. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, "How can there be such a cheap thing in the world? You're good." Lu Xingchen glared at him angrily, then turned and opened the portal to leave. Qin Feiyang also immediately took out the image crystal and sent a message to Wang Yangfeng. Buzz. Soon, Wang Yangfeng's shadow appeared. "What's the situation?" Qin Feiyang asked. "See for yourself." Wang Yangfeng smiled helplessly. The image crystal changed, and Lei Bao immediately entered Qin Feiyang's line of sight. At this moment, Lei Bao was blocking the door of Qinwu Marquis. Moreover, it was holding a wine jar the size of a wash basin in its arms. As it drank, it cursed at the people inside. Marquis Qianwu was standing in front of the door, his face extremely ugly. As for Wang Yishan and the rest, they were squatting beside Lei Bao, trying their best to persuade him. But Lei Bao was already drunk to the point of being a complete mess, and couldn't listen at all. Lei Bao gulped down a few mouthfuls, looked at Marquis Qianwu provocatively, and said, "Surnamed Feng, you are a martial marquis, why are you so timid? You're just like a turtle, hurry up, don't waste my time, come and fight with me for 300 rounds. Bastard." Marquis Qianwu was unable to restrain his anger. He raised his head to look at Qin Feiyang's shadow, and roared, "Aren't you going to control it, and let it continue to mess around like this? Boss Qin?" Lei Bao also noticed Qin Feiyang, burped, and laughed. "Boss Qin, Fatso told this emperor that this guy surnamed Feng is not a good person. As long as you say the word, this emperor will immediately flatten this turtle's lair." Son of a bitch. Qin Feiyang's face twitched. This fellow was the first person who dared to call a marquis a son of a bitch in public. Seal anxiously transmitted to him from the side, "Big brother, stop messing around, Boss Qin will be angry." Lei Bao said unhappily, "This emperor is helping Boss Qin fight for justice. What is he angry about? He should be thanking this emperor." Seal was helpless. This thing, wine, was really harmful. Lei Bao's body swayed. He stood up and looked at Marquis Qianwu, and said, "Damn old man, do you dare to accept the challenge? If you don't dare, then hurry up and admit that you're a son of a bitch." Preposterous, preposterous. I must report this matter to His Majesty. Marquis Qianwu was so angry that his face turned black, and his body trembled. "It's useless even if you report it to old Prince Tian." Lei Bao laughed disdainfully, his terrifying might exploding out as he pounced towards Marquis Qianwu. Boom! The gate of the Marquis's mansion instantly collapsed. Marquis Qianwu, as well as the guards beside him, were in a complete mess, and a large number of them fell down. Such a big Marquis's mansion, actually no one dares to accept the challenge. This emperor is really disappointed. It's not fun, this emperor will go to the Zhuge family. Lei Bao shook his head, swayed his body, and soared into the sky. What? He still wants to go to the Zhuge family? Wang Yangfeng and the rest had a change of expression. Marquis Qianwu was also tongue-tied. The 100 marquis families that had been passed down had almost all declined, and were not as good as before, except for the Zhuge family. Although the Zhuge family, compared to its peak, had declined quite a bit, but currently, it was recognized as the strongest marquis mansion. Among them, there were super experts like Zhuge Nanhua. Was this Lei Bao really not afraid of death? But thinking about it carefully, it even dared to cause trouble in the imperial palace, so it didn't seem to be a big deal to cause trouble in the Zhuge family. Wang Yangfeng looked at Lei Bao, who was staggering and on the verge of collapse, and frowned. "Young master, what do we do now?" Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered, and said, "Let it go." What? Wang Yangfeng was stunned. What did this mean? Previously, he had asked them to stop Lei Bao, but now he was supporting Lei Bao? "I might reach the Zhuge family before you all, hurry back." After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, the faint image quickly disappeared. Wang Yangfeng kept the image crystal and looked at Wang Yishan and the rest helplessly, and could only follow behind Lei Bao and fly back to the Zhuge family. In the main hall, Fatso looked at Qin Feiyang in confusion and asked, "Boss, what do you mean? Are you going to start a war?" "It's still too early to start a war. I just want to use Lei Bao to test the Zhuge family's strength," Qin Feiyang said. "I see." Fatso was enlightened. "Go to the ancient pagoda and continue to help Lu Hong build the herb field," Qin Feiyang said, and sent Fatso to the ancient pagoda. Then, he opened the portal and directly descended on the Zhuge family. Qin Feiyang. The guards of the Zhuge family immediately saw Qin Feiyang, and all soared into the sky. There were more than 100 of them. They surrounded Qin Feiyang in the center, fully focused and vigilant, as if they were facing a great enemy. At the same time, there were also people who immediately informed Zhuge Wuho. Qin Feiyang glanced at the guards around him, with his hands behind his back. He quietly looked at the house of Marquis below, his face expressionless. "Qin Feiyang, what are you doing in my Wuho manor?" Suddenly. Chapter 1347. This person was 8 feet tall and burly like a small giant. There was a shocking scar on the left side of his face, exuding a valiant aura. Qin Feiyang glanced at him and looked away. Bastard. Do you know who I am? Do you know where this place is? Get lost if you know what's good for you. Otherwise, don't blame the Zhuge family for being rude to you. Facing Qin Feiyang's disregard, the burly man was furious and shouted. Noisy. Qin Feiyang raised his head and looked at the burly man with ruthless coldness. The burly man shrank his neck and a sense of panic emerged in his heart. How dare you offend Boss Qin? You must be tired of living. At this moment, accompanied by a playful laughter, a bolt of lightning broke through the air and pounced directly at the burly man. The burly man turned pale and quickly counterattacked. But before he could do anything, he was drowned by the lightning. Blood splattered on the spot and screams resounded through the sky. Anyone who dares to offend Boss Qin must die. The lightning dissipated and Lei Bao's figure appeared. Why is this bastard here too? Seeing the appearance of Lei Bao, the guards were instantly terrified. Who in the imperial city didn't know Lei Bao's name? It was a bastard. Whoever provoked it, no matter who it was, would not have a good ending. This, Seal, Wang Yangfeng, and the rest also broke through the air. Seeing Lei Bao killing people as soon as he arrived at the Zhuge family, their expressions changed drastically. Young master, let's stop it immediately. Wang Yangfeng said. No need. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. The group of people was stunned. What did he mean? Did he tacitly allow Lei Bao to kill people in the Zhuge family? However, they didn't ask too much. They landed next to Qin Feiyang and went on full alert. After all, they were in the Zhuge family now. It was better to be careful. Looking at Lei Bao again. After killing the burly man, it grinned at Qin Feiyang and then looked at the surrounding guards. Its fierce eyes were hazy with drunkenness. Run! No one knew which guard shouted in horror. Immediately, all the guards turned around and fled. Useless thing. But at this moment, a hoarse voice sounded. Although his voice was hoarse, it was full of energy. Following closely, a violet-clothed old man flashed out from the Marquis estate. He was about 1.8 meters tall. Although he was old, his body was very robust. Especially his eyes, which were not turbid at all. They were sharp, spirited, and sparkling. The moment the old man appeared, the guards immediately stopped in their tracks, their faces filled with shame. Wang Yangfeng's eyes narrowed as he sent a voice transmission. Young master, who is he? Qin Feiyang said, he is the current Zhuge Wuhou. From your tone, you seem to be afraid of him? I have no choice but to be afraid because he is a 9-star combat emperor. Moreover, judging from his aura, it seems that he is about to step into the peak of the 9-star combat emperor realm. Wang Yangfeng thought to himself. I didn't expect that old man to have hidden himself so deeply. Qin Feiyang grumbled, a cold light flashed in his eyes as he shouted, Lei Bao, kill him. What? The expressions of Wang Yangfeng and the others changed. They never would have thought that Qin Feiyang would actually give such an order to Lei Bao. Could it be that they were going to start a war head-on? Kill this marquis? Zhuge Wuhou was also stunned. The people of the Zhuge family below were also dumbstruck. At the same time, there were also many people who came to watch the show. When they heard Qin Feiyang's words, they were petrified on the spot. Was this guy crazy? He actually dared to threaten to kill Zhuge Wuhou? Lei Bao was also astonished, seriously suspecting that there was something wrong with his ears. Didn't you hear me? I told you to kill him. Qin Feiyang shouted. Lei Bao immediately quivered, and his drunken head instantly sobered up. It turned to look at Qin Feiyang and asked, Are you sure? Qin Feiyang nodded. I can finally start a massacre. Old bastard, die. Lei Bao laughed wildly, bringing along a monstrous might. He pounced towards Zhuge Wuhou. Qin Feiyang, don't go too far. Zhuge Wuhou was furious. Not long ago, he had humiliated Zhuge Nanhua in public, and now he was brazenly killing his way into his house. Was he bullying his Zhuge family? Boom! He took a step forward, and the emperor's might roared in all directions as he threw a punch at Lei Bao. You overestimate yourself. Lei Bao smiled contemptuously, stood up like a human, and slapped out with his claws. Boom! Crack! Accompanied by a loud sound, Zhuge Wuhou's arm broke on the spot, and blood stained the sky. Then, like a meteorite, he flew out horizontally. The terrifying shockwaves of the battle rolled towards the Zhuge family below. The group of guards from before were the first to bear the brunt of it. Their bodies directly exploded in the air, and blood poured down like a waterfall. Below, the entire Zhuge family's buildings were trembling crazily at this moment, facing the danger of collapse. At this moment, everyone in the Zhuge family fell into a state of panic. Not good. Zhuge Wuhou's expression changed. Previously, he was so angry that he didn't care about the people below. Although the battle between the 9-star war emperor was not as good as the false god, it was still enough to flatten his Zhuge family. He quickly stabilized his body and pounced downwards. Old bastard, where do you want to go? However, Lei Bao was like a ghost, and instantly appeared in front of Zhuge Wuhou. The power of thunder roared out, drowning the sky. Zhuge Wuhou looked at the Feng Marquis' mansion below him, and decisively soared into the sky, and roared, Elders, please quickly come out of seclusion and protect the Marquis' mansion. Elder. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered as he scanned the entire Marquis' mansion. Boom! Almost at the same time as Zhuge Wuhou's voice fell, a terrifying emperor's might erupted from the ground in the center of the Marquis' mansion. Whiz! Following closely, 10 figures flew out from the ground and appeared in Qin Feiyang's line of sight. Among these 10 people, there were men and women. They all looked old, but the aura they emitted was extremely terrifying. They are all 9-star war emperor. Wang Yangfeng swept his gaze across them one by one, and whispered to Qin Feiyang. Not bad. A mere martial marquis' mansion has so many war emperor. Qin Feiyang muttered. At the same time, the 10 great clan elders looked at Qin Feiyang and the others, killing intent flashing in their eyes, and then they attacked at the same time. The emperor's might roared in all directions, and instantly dissolved the battle fluctuations that were surging towards the Marquis' mansion. With the 10 great clan elders present, Zhuge Wuhou no longer had any misgivings and let go of his hands and feet. Arrogant bastard, I will definitely kill you today. He raised his head and roared. His battle chi surged, and a black moon rose into the sky. His divine might rolled across the horizon, crushing the power of thunder and smashing it towards Lei Bao. This is, Qin Feiyang's pupils constricted. The first move of the eclipse moon, black moon. Wang Yangfeng and the others also sucked in a breath of air. They never thought that Zhuge Wuhou would also obtain this kind of inherited divine art. Black moon, you really make me miss you. Lei Bao laughed, and a purple sea of thunder rushed out from his back like a raging wave, and a purple eye appeared out of nowhere. This is his battle soul, Eye of the Thunder God. Wang Yishan and the others were excited. Previously in the reincarnation ocean, they had already seen the Eye of the Thunder God. Although it could not be compared to a divine art, the Eye of the Thunder God's innate divine ability could almost compete with a divine art. Old bastard, come on. Lei Bao roared. The Eye of the Thunder God trembled in the void, and with a wave of thunder, it roared towards the black moon. What's going on? It actually did not activate its innate divine ability. Wang Yangfeng and the others' faces changed. Although the Eye of the Thunder God was terrifying, only by activating its innate divine ability could it compete with a divine art. What was this guy doing? He was too arrogant. Qin Feiyang stared at Lei Bao, and his eyes were also flickering. Suddenly, his eyes flashed, and a trace of a smile crept onto his face. The originally aggressive Lei Bao suddenly retreated, and with the eye of the thunder god, he turned around and slipped away. Boom! The black moon carried with it the power to destroy the world as it blasted towards the Zhuge family below like lightning. So that's how it is. This guy is really treacherous. He actually wants to use Zhuge Wuho's divine art to destroy the Zhuge family. If its evil plan succeeds, Zhuge Wuho will probably go crazy with anger. Wang Yangfeng and the others suddenly understood, and there was a trace of a smile in their eyes. Damn it! Zhuge Wuho also realized Lei Bao's goal, cursed angrily, and quickly dispersed the black moon. But now, it seemed that it was too late. Don't, Zhuge Wuho roared in despair. Qin Feiyang, you have completely angered this old man. All of a sudden, an angry roar exploded, and the imperial tutor appeared out of thin air. Qin Feiyang's expression changed, and he sent a sound transmission, Lei Bao, come back quickly. Hearing this, Lei Bao glanced at the imperial tutor, then immediately turned around and rushed towards Qin Feiyang. What a joke. With the imperial tutor personally here, if he didn't escape quickly, he would definitely lose his life. Just as Lei Bao was escaping, the imperial tutor raised his old hand and waved it lightly. A wave of supreme power appeared and the black moon instantly disintegrated. Following that, he raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang. Boom! A monstrous divine might appeared, like a huge wave. It covered the sky and covered the earth as it rushed towards Qin Feiyang and the others. Qin Feiyang did not panic at all, his hands were still behind his back, and he said indifferently, "Are you sure you want to make a move against me?" The threat was not concealed at all. The imperial tutor's body stiffened, and he instinctively retracted his divine might. But then, killing intent shot out from his old eyes as he sneered, "This old man's patience has reached its limit. Don't try to threaten me anymore." The divine might appeared once again, drowning out the sky as it pounced towards Qin Feiyang and the others. Qin Feiyang obviously knew that the imperial tutor would not give up so easily this time. What he said just now was not to threaten the imperial tutor, but to buy time for Lei Bao. At this moment, Lei Bao had already rushed in front of him. Qin Feiyang moved his mind, and Lei Bao, Seal, Wang Yangfeng, and the others instantly disappeared without a trace. Obviously, they were all sent to the castle. Try to kill me if you can. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly and was about to enter the castle. Something bad has happened, you two stop. But at this moment, the commander of the Kirin army and the head eunuch both flew over, their faces full of anxiety. Qin Feiyang and the imperial tutor raised their eyebrows at the same time and turned to look at the two. The commander of the Kirin army and the head eunuch panted as they flew in front of Qin Feiyang. The head eunuch immediately looked at the imperial tutor and said, "Imperial tutor, come over quickly, I have something to talk to the commander of the Kirin army." The imperial tutor frowned more and more. "It's urgent, hurry." Chapter 1348. What's so urgent? Qin Feiyang frowned. The Grand Master glanced at the chief eunuch and the commander of the Kirin army, withdrew his divine power, and walked to the three of them. The chief eunuch glanced at the crowd and said, "This is a serious matter. When you hear it later, please try not to react too much to avoid causing panic." "Say it," the Grand Master said impatiently. The chief eunuch said, "His Majesty was assassinated." "What?" The Grand Master was shocked. Qin Feiyang's face also changed. How could this be? The emperor lived in the imperial palace. How could he be assassinated? The Grand Master grabbed the chief eunuch's clothes and shouted, "Tell me, what happened?" "Grand Master, please calm down." The commander of the Kirin army hurriedly grabbed the Grand Master's arm and said. The Grand Master said sternly, "How can I calm down after such a thing happened?" "It's because this matter is too important that you have to calm down. Think about it, if the world knew that His Majesty was assassinated, how big of a storm would it cause?" The commander of the Kirin army said in a deep voice. The Grand Master glanced at the commander of the Kirin army, let go of the chief eunuch, and said, "Where was he assassinated?" "The Imperial Study Room." "The chief eunuch." The Grand Master immediately opened a portal and strode in. The chief eunuch followed closely behind him. "You come with me too," the commander of the Kirin army said to Qin Feiyang, and followed him into the portal. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered. But in the end, he followed. "What's going on? Look at how anxious they are. Could it be that something big has happened in the Imperial Palace?" The crowd below was surprised. The Imperial Study Room. At this moment, the security here was no different from usual. The door was closed. 2 eunuchs and a maid stood outside respectfully. It seemed that they didn't know that the emperor was assassinated. Inside the room, Qin Feiyang and the other 3 appeared one after another. A strong smell of blood immediately assailed their nostrils. The 4 of them quickly scanned their surroundings, only to see that there was no one in the huge imperial study except for the rows of bookshelves and desks. But there was blood everywhere on the ground. And it was fresh blood. Seeing this, the Grand Master's face darkened. He turned to the 2 commanders of the Kirin army and asked, "Where is His Majesty? Even if he was killed, his corpse should still be here. There are no bodies." The chief eunuch shook his head. "How is this possible?" The imperial advisor was furious. "There's really no corpse." The main eunuch conduit. "Aren't you always by His Majesty's side? What's going on?" The imperial tutor lowered his voice and asked. "Yesterday morning, Your Majesty said that you wanted to come to the Imperial Study to read, so I accompanied Your Majesty to the Imperial Study. But before entering the Imperial Study, His Majesty asked me to wait outside. Your Majesty's orders, I naturally do not dare to disobey. I can only stand guard outside." This defense lasted for an entire day and night. The main eunuch conduit. The imperial advisor said angrily, "Didn't you find it strange after reading for an entire day and night?" The main eunuch conduit said, "There's nothing strange about it. His Majesty usually reads for a long time when he's reading. It's normal for him to read for several days and nights." "Then how did you find out that Your Majesty was killed?" Qin Feiyang asked. "Because of you. Not long ago, the commander of the Kirin army received the news that you brought people to the Zhuge family. He knew that you might cause trouble again, so he immediately came to report to His Majesty. But no matter how we shouted, His Majesty did not respond. At first, we did not think much of it. After all, this is the Imperial Study. No one would dare to commit a crime here. We just thought that His Majesty was too engrossed in reading or was tired and fell asleep in the Imperial Study. But when I pushed open the door and entered the Imperial Study, I was scared out of my wits when I saw the blood all over the floor. I immediately realized that something big might have happened. I quickly called the commander of the Kirin army in and closed the door." The main eunuch said. The commander of the Kirin army said, "When I came in and saw this scene, I was also scared out of my wits. I quickly searched for him with the main eunuch. But in the end, there was not even a shadow of a ghost, let alone His Majesty. So we immediately went to find you." "Impossible. His Majesty is a 9-star combat emperor. Even if someone committed a crime, it would be impossible to do it silently." The imperial advisor shook his head. His old face was full of disbelief. Qin Feiyang glanced at him. He squatted on the ground and reached out to touch a bit of blood. He looked at it carefully and put it to the tip of his nose to smell it. He frowned slightly. "Did you find something?" the commander of the Kirin army asked. Qin Feiyang said, "From the analysis of this blood, the emperor was killed no more than 2 hours ago." The imperial advisor heard this and turned to the main eunuch. He said, "You were outside at that time. Didn't you hear anything?" "No." The main eunuch shook his head. "Ridiculous. With His Majesty's strength, no one except a false god like me could kill him without anyone noticing. Tell me honestly. Did you collude with others to assassinate His Majesty? The imperial advisor stared at the eunuch. His eyes were shining. I assassinated His Majesty? The main eunuch was stunned. He quickly knelt on the ground and said, Imperial advisor, this is a serious crime. I don't have the guts to do this. Please investigate. Don't worry. I will find out. The imperial advisor smiled coldly. He turned to look at the door and shouted, You four, come in immediately. The two eunuchs and the maid quickly ran in. When they saw the blood on the ground, they were shocked. They knelt on the ground and said, Greetings, Imperial Advisor. The Imperial Advisor said in a deep voice, I ask you, after His Majesty entered the Imperial study, did you hear anything? No. The four quickly shook their heads. Really? If I find out that you are lying, do you know the consequences? The Imperial Advisor said sternly. I don't dare. We really didn't hear anything. The four of them hurriedly said in fear. The Imperial Advisor looked at the four with murderous eyes. At the same time, Qin Feiyang looked at the Imperial Advisor, then looked at the two eunuchs and the two maids. His eyes flashed and said, I have a way to know if they are lying. What way? The Imperial Advisor frowned and looked at him. Slave seal. Qin Feiyang waved his hands. For slave seals appeared in an instant and disappeared into the top of the four people's heads like lightning. The four immediately held their heads and screamed. But soon, the pain disappeared. Qin Feiyang said, Let me ask you, after the emperor entered the imperial study, did the eunuch leave? Or enter the imperial study? No. The eunuch has been guarding outside until the commander of the Kirin army came. He then entered the imperial study. The four said. After listening, Qin Feiyang looked at the imperial advisor and said, They are not lying. How can you be so sure? The imperial advisor sneered. Of course. Because of the slave seal, I can peek into the other person's mind, so I know what they are thinking at the moment. Qin Feiyang said. These four people are just ordinary people. Naturally, their minds are not as good as the Zhuge family and the Mu family. So when he asked, the four people's minds came up with the truest thoughts. The imperial advisor's pupils shrank. Suddenly, the imperial advisor waved his hand and the power of the pseudo-god emerged and rushed toward the two eunuchs and the two maids. Before the four people could react, blood splashed on the spot. Seeing this, the eunuch's eyes were full of fear. The commander of the Kirin army was also afraid. Qin Feiyang was not afraid at all. He raised his eyebrows and said, Why did you kill them? They are not fools. When they saw the blood here, they must have thought that His Majesty had an accident. If they spread the news, wouldn't the empire be in chaos? The imperial advisor said indifferently. As long as the imperial advisor says a word, do you think they will dare to talk nonsense? Qin Feiyang sneered. What do you mean? Did I kill the wrong people? Or are you saying that you want to meddle in the affairs of a few ants that this nation teacher is killing? Qin Feiyang, I suddenly realized that this matter should have something to do with you. The imperial advisor said with a sinister smile. Qin Feiyang immediately frowned. The imperial advisor said with a sinister smile, His Majesty was fine when you didn't come out. But as soon as you came out, His Majesty was killed. Is this a coincidence? Huh. The eunuch's head and the commander of the Kirin army also looked at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang looked at the two and sneered at the imperial advisor, You want to frame me? Is this a trap? It is clearly the truth. Because in the entire great Qin Empire, other than me, only you have the ability to kill His Majesty silently. The imperial advisor said with murderous intent in his eyes. Then tell me, what kind of ability do I have? Qin Feiyang said. The ancient castle. You could have used the castle to sneak into the royal study without anyone noticing. Then, you could have caught the emperor off guard and brought him into the castle. Then, you could have gotten your subordinates to kill him. The imperial advisor said. If you want to condemn someone, you can always find a pretext. Qin Feiyang said calmly. You want to condemn someone? The imperial advisor sneered. Who in the empire doesn't know that you hate His Majesty to the core because of what happened back then? Qin Feiyang said, even if I have the motive, I don't have the time to do it. Because I went to look for Zhuge Nanhua as soon as I came out of seclusion. This is only your side of the story. Who knows if you went to look for His Majesty before you went to look for Zhuge Nanhua? Besides, even if you didn't go, aren't you an accomplice? The imperial advisor said. Which accomplice? Qin Feiyang said. That fake god who secretly attacked me in the first district. Don't tell me that you have already forgotten. The imperial advisor sneered. It seems like you are certain that I killed His Majesty. Qin Feiyang said. Who else could it be other than you? Stop quibbling. Tell me, where is His Majesty now? Is he dead or not? The imperial advisor shouted. The chief eunuch and the commander of the Kirin army also gradually moved closer to the imperial advisor. Obviously, they also suspected Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang looked at the two commanders of the Kirin army and said, don't tell me you really believe it. What the imperial advisor said is not without reason. The chief eunuch said in a deep voice. Chapter 1349. Ignorance is terrible. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. He looked at the state preceptor and said, I have a motive to kill, and so do you. I have the ability, and so do you. Since you suspect me, I have a reason to suspect you. You are a thief pretending to be a thief. The state preceptor said angrily. Qin Feiyang said, can I say that you are also a thief pretending to be a thief? Don't talk nonsense. The state preceptor shouted. His eyes were full of killing intent. Qin Feiyang's gaze turned cold as he shouted, you better put away your killing intent right now. The state preceptor said, I advise you not to challenge my patience. That's what I should say. If you don't want those shameful things to be exposed, you better behave yourself. Don't bite people like a mad dog. Qin Feiyang said. You, the state preceptor was furious. What about me? Qin Feiyang looked at him provocatively. You win. The state preceptor said coldly. He turned to the chief eunuch and asked, where is the imperial seal? The imperial seal? The chief eunuch was stunned. He looked at the desk next to him. On the desk, there were pens, ink, paper, and a stack of memorials. On one side, there was a square jade box. It was the size of two adults' palms. It was carved with dragons and phoenixes. It was very delicate. This was the desk where the emperor usually read memorials. The head eunuch quickly walked to the desk and reached out to grab the jade box. At this moment, the state preceptor and Qin Feiyang rushed to the jade box at the same time. However, the imperial preceptor's speed was still faster than the imperial preceptor and he managed to grab the jade box first. The sudden change of events caused the chief eunuch and the commander of the Qilin army to be at a loss for a moment. At the same time, seeing the jade box in the state preceptor's hand, Qin Feiyang's face darkened. He said, we don't know whether the emperor is dead or not. Are you so eager to get the imperial seal? What nonsense are you talking about? This imperial preceptor is protecting the imperial jade seal to prevent it from falling into the hands of those with ill intentions. The imperial tutor sneered. Are you talking about yourself? Qin Feiyang took the opportunity to step forward and grab the jade box. What are you doing? The imperial advisor said angrily. The two of them each grabbed onto one side and refused to let go. Qin Feiyang said, other than my Qin clan, I will not allow the imperial jade seal to fall into the hands of anyone else, especially you. Then we'll have to rely on our own abilities. The imperial preceptor's eyes flashed with murderous intent. A surge of divine might suddenly emerged and pounced on Qin Feiyang. Puff. Qin Feiyang spat out a mouthful of blood and was forced to retreat. The Imperial Preceptor took the jade box as though it was a treasure. He took a few steps back and opened the jade box impatiently. Damn it! The chief eunuch exclaimed. The commander of the Kirin army also looked worried. Bright Heaven Palace. Qin Feiyang sat on the throne above, holding an image crystal in his hand, his face gloomy. He never expected that such a thing would happen suddenly. Buzz. After a while, Lu Xingqian's shadow appeared. Qin Feiyang said, "Tell me, do you have anything to do with the emperor's death?" What? The emperor was killed? Lu Xingqian was stunned and said in surprise. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Lu Xingqian looked at Qin Feiyang and saw that Qin Feiyang's face was gloomy. He didn't seem to be joking. Wait, I'll come to you. After saying that, he turned off the image crystal. In less than 3 breaths, Lu Xingqian appeared in the hall. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said in a deep voice, "When did this happen? Why didn't I receive any news?" Not long ago. Qin Feiyang responded and said, "Do you really not know, or are you playing dumb? If I did it, do you think I would deny it?" Lu Xingqian said. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. It seemed to make sense. With Lu Xingqian's character, if he dared to do it, he would definitely dare to admit it. Could it be the state preceptor? Lu Xingqian asked. Judging from his previous performance, it shouldn't be him, but we can't rule out the possibility that he is acting. And the Imperial Jade Seal is also missing. Qin Feiyang said. Lu Xingqian said in astonishment, "If it's not the state preceptor, it's not me, and it's not you, could it be a ghost? I'm not in the mood to joke now. Call Mu Qing out immediately and let him see with his all-seeing eyes." Qin Feiyang said. Lu Xingqian was puzzled and said, "The emperor's death should be a good thing for you, why are you so anxious?" "I'm anxious about the Imperial Jade Seal. Now that the emperor is dead, if the state preceptor gets the Imperial Jade Seal, then he can rightfully inherit the throne." Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. The reason why the state preceptor didn't make a move was that the emperor was still alive, and the Imperial Jade Seal. Because without the Imperial Jade Seal, he couldn't be recognized by the world. Of course, the recognition of the world wasn't that important. Because with the state preceptor's means, he had 10,000 ways to deceive the world. What really scared the state preceptor was actually the old monsters hidden in the mountain behind the imperial palace. Those old monsters, including the fake gods who sealed themselves, and Elder Qin, were the guardians of the great Qin Empire. And since ancient times, the succession of the throne was personally drawn up by the previous emperor, announced to the world, and then held a succession ceremony. At the ceremony, the Imperial Jade Seal was personally handed to the successor. But now, the emperor was dead, and no one could draw up this edict. In this way, the old monsters behind the imperial palace only recognized the Imperial Jade Seal. So, now it was urgent to find the Imperial Jade Seal. Lu Xingqian was silent for a while and asked, "Who knows about this matter at present?" Qin Feiyang said, "Me, you, the state preceptor, the commander of the Kirin army, the head of the eunuchs. Actually, I think you're a little worried. The state preceptor doesn't have the blood of the Qin clan in his body. Even if he finds the Imperial Jade Seal, the monsters behind the imperial palace won't agree to let him inherit the throne." Lu Xingqian said with a faint smile. "Who is the state preceptor? As long as he gets the Imperial Jade Seal, he has many ways to persuade those old monsters. Moreover, don't forget that there's a little prince now. The emperor only has one heir. If the state preceptor can't persuade those old monsters, then the little prince will definitely be promoted to the throne. At that time, the state preceptor and the current empress will join forces, and the empire of the great Qin will belong to the Zhuge family sooner or later." Qin Feiyang said. "That makes sense. The little prince is young and ignorant now, and they can do whatever they want behind the scenes. But there's still you, isn't there? You, the descendant of the Qin emperor, have the best chance to inherit the throne, don't you think? Lu Xingchen said with a smile. When the emperor expelled me from the imperial palace, he announced it to the world. Do you think those old monsters will agree to let me inherit the throne? Moreover, the state preceptor will definitely make things difficult. Qin Feiyang said. That's true. However, the emperor was killed and the imperial jade seal is missing. This is a great thing for me. Why should I help you? Lu Xingchen joked. I didn't ask you to help me. I just want Mu Qing to see if the emperor is still alive. Qin Feiyang said. Let me think about it. Lu Xingchen walked to a chair on the side, sat down, and lowered his head to think. After a while, he looked up at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, if you just want to see if the emperor is still alive, I can help you. After that, Mu Qing appeared beside him out of thin air. Lu Xingchen said, use your heavenly eye to check the whereabouts of the emperor. Yes. Mu Qing responded respectfully, and then coldly glanced at Qin Feiyang, and opened his heavenly eye. His eyes were immediately suffused with wisps of obscure light. Gradually, within his pupils, a mountain range that stretched as far as the eye could see could be vaguely seen. Chapter 1350. A moment later. The light in Mu Qing's eyes dissipated, but there was a flash of light in the depths of her eyes. She leaned close to Lu Xingchen's ear and muttered a few words. What's going on? Lu Xingchen suddenly stood up, his face full of surprise. I don't know either. Mu Qing shook her head, also looking suspicious. Did you find something? Qin Feiyang looked at the two of them in surprise. Lu Xingchen turned to look at Qin Feiyang, but said nothing. He returned to his seat and lowered his head in silence, as if he was thinking about something. Say it. Qin Feiyang said angrily. Mu Qing sneered and said, you haven't changed at all. You ask for help with such an overbearing attitude. Are you qualified to speak here? Qin Feiyang glanced at Mu Qing coldly. Mu Qing couldn't help but shiver immediately, a trace of panic creeping into her eyes. At this time, Lu Xingchen looked up at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, how about we make a deal? What kind of deal? Qin Feiyang frowned. Promise me one thing unconditionally, and I will tell you everything Mu Qing saw. You have to listen carefully. I said unconditionally, there is no room for negotiation. Of course. I definitely won't let you do something that defies the heavens and causes you to commit suicide. Lu Xingchen said with a smile. Qin Feiyang didn't say anything and looked at Lu Xingchen gloomily. You can refuse, but I can guarantee that you will definitely regret it. Lu Xingchen said with a confident smile. Okay, I promise. But if what you say is of no value to me, then don't blame me for being rude. Qin Feiyang said. Don't worry, you will be shocked. Lu Xingchen laughed and said, the emperor is not dead. What? Qin Feiyang suddenly stood up and asked, where is he now? I don't know either. Just now, Mu Qing told me that the place where the emperor is now is filled with a mysterious power that prevents the all-seeing eye from prying. Lu Xingchen shook his head. He's not dead, Qin Feiyang murmured and returned to his throne. Since he wasn't dead, why didn't he come back? Could it be that he was imprisoned somewhere? However, who had this ability? One had to know. Only a semi-divinity realm cultivator would be able to stop the prying eyes of the omniscient eye. False gods, in the entire Great Qin Empire, other than the imperial advisor, Elder Qin, and a few old monsters in the imperial palace, there were no other false gods. Qin Feiyang looked at Lu Xingchen and asked, approximate location? Lu Xingchen glanced at Mu Qing and said, tell him. Mu Qing looked at Qin Feiyang and said, I'm not sure about the approximate location, but I'm sure that he's not in the capital. Not in the capital? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and asked, is he in the Sea of Reincarnation? No. Mu Qing shook his head. If he's not in the capital or the Sea of Reincarnation, is he in the 9 prefectures? Qin Feiyang was surprised. But to go to the 9 prefectures, he had to go through the transmission altar of the Spirit Pagoda. If the murderer wanted to take the emperor to the 9 prefectures, it was impossible to do it quietly. Lu Xingchen said with a smile, Mu Qing, I've told you what you saw. Don't forget your promise to me. What do you want me to do for you? Qin Feiyang collected his thoughts and asked. I can't tell you now. When the time comes, I'll tell you. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first. Lu Xingchen stood up and said. Qin Feiyang looked at him deeply and waved his hand. See you. Lu Xingchen immediately opened a portal and walked in with Mu Qing. Qin Feiyang looked at the dissipating portal and leaned weakly on the chair, rubbing his head. What was going on? How could a dignified emperor be assassinated? This was the first time since the founding of the great Qin Empire. In a certain alchemy room, Lu Xingchen and Mu Qing appeared out of thin air. Lu Xingchen immediately turned around and looked at Mu Qing, asking, where is the emperor now? Spiritual state. Mu Qing said. Senior Qin is in charge of the spiritual state. How did the person who kidnapped him get there? Could it be that this matter has something to do with Senior Qin? Or, is Senior Qin the culprit? Lu Xingchen frowned. I'm also puzzled. In short, I feel that the assassination of the emperor is somewhat confusing. Mu Qing said. Let's not worry about that for now. The emperor has been kidnapped. For us, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Lu Xingchen's eyes sparkled. Master, what do you mean? Mu Qing was suspicious. Save the emperor before Qin Feiyang and the state preceptor and then control the emperor. In this way, the emperor will be our puppet, which will be of great help to our future plans. Lu Xingchen said. Master, although this idea is good, there are 2 problems now. Mu Qing frowned. What problem? Lu Xingchen was suspicious. First, although I saw the emperor in the spiritual state, I can't spy on his exact location. It's not easy to find him. Second, the person who kidnapped the emperor must have reached the level of a fake god or even stronger. If this is the case, then it will be difficult for us to snatch the emperor from him. Mu Qing said worriedly. It doesn't matter if we can't snatch him. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. When we find out his identity, I can choose to cooperate with him. As for whether it's easy to find him, don't worry about that. As long as the emperor is in the spiritual state, he can't escape our pursuit. After all, the spiritual state is only so big. Lu Xingchen's face was full of confidence. Mu Qing's eyes lit up as he cupped his hands and said, Master, you are wise. I will do it right away. Lu Xingchen waved his hand and smiled. Can you pass the pagoda? I'll go there myself. After saying that, Lu Xingchen took Mu Qing into the Space Divine item and then drove the Space Divine item to the back mountain of the Imperial Palace without stopping. Back to Qin Feiyang. He leaned on the throne and pondered for a long time before taking out the image crystal. Buzz. Soon, Yan Wei's shadow appeared. Qin Feiyang asked, is there any movement from the state preceptor's side? Yan Wei said, he has sent all the law enforcers of the inner court to find the emperor. Now, he is discussing countermeasures with the empress and Zhuge Wuhou. What countermeasures? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. If the emperor is really killed, before it is decided who will inherit the emperor's prestige, someone must stand up and take charge of the situation. So the 3 of them are discussing how to persuade the old monsters in the back mountain of the Imperial Palace. Because the state preceptor wants to take charge of the state affairs. Yan Wei said in a deep voice. Take charge of the state affairs, Qin Feiyang smiled coldly. This old thing was really good at scheming. Although it was only taking charge of the state affairs, if the state preceptor really persuaded the old monsters in the back mountain of the Imperial Palace, then during the period of taking charge of the state affairs, he could use the power in his hands to make a big fuss. Qin Feiyang said, "Pay attention carefully. If there is any news, inform me immediately." "Okay." Yan Wei nodded. Qin Feiyang asked, "By the way, how is the little prince now?" "He doesn't know anything at the moment." Yan Wei said. "He is still young. It's good that he doesn't know." Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. Although he hated the emperor, the little prince liked the emperor very much. If he knew that the emperor was killed, he would definitely be very sad. "Okay, be careful. Staying with the state preceptor is not a child's play. If you are not careful, you will lose your life." Qin Feiyang said. "I understand." Yan Wei said. "By the way, there is one more thing that I forgot to tell you. I have rescued your clansmen. They are now in the ancient tower." Qin Feiyang said with a smile. "Really?" Yan Wei was stunned and asked in surprise. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. "That's great. Now I can be completely at ease." Yan Wei was overjoyed. Qin Feiyang smiled and turned off the image crystal. Looking at the void in front of him, he murmured, "The 9 provinces." Just as he got up, the image crystal in his hand moved. Qin Feiyang frowned. The image crystal was activated. The shadow of the commander of the Kirin army appeared. "What?" Qin Feiyang looked at him expressionlessly. The commander of the Kirin army asked, "You really didn't assassinate His Majesty? You have disappointed me. We have known each other for so long. Don't you know me? Even if I wanted to kill the emperor, I would challenge him openly. Why would I use such petty means?" Qin Feiyang snorted. "All right, I have wronged you." The commander of the Kirin army said apologetically. "Is there anything else?" Qin Feiyang asked. He was too lazy to talk nonsense with this person. Plop. The commander of the Kirin army suddenly knelt on the ground. "What are you doing?" Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. "Now that we don't know whether the emperor is dead or alive, I am worried that some people may take advantage of the situation to create chaos. So I hope that you can stand out and stop them at the critical moment." The commander of the Kirin army said. "I know that even if you don't say it." After saying that, Qin Feiyang turned off the image crystal, opened the portal and arrived in front of the pagoda. Zhuge Nanhua was humiliated in public and had a mental breakdown. His emotions were very unstable now, so he was recovering in the Zhuge family. And now, a middle-aged man replaced Zhuge Nanhua to guard the pagoda. He was also a member of the inner hall of the law enforcement hall. His name was Zhuge Nangong. He was Zhuge Nanhua's younger brother. Although his cultivation wasn't as good as Zhuge Nanhua, he was still a top-notch expert among the 9-star combat emperors. He was infinitely close to the peak of the 9-star combat emperors. Qin Feiyang had seen him when he was young, but he didn't have a deep impression of him. When he sensed Qin Feiyang's aura, Zhuge Nangong suddenly opened his eyes. 2 rays of cold light shot out from his eyes. "Get out of the way." Qin Feiyang looked at him coldly and said. "To enter the pagoda, you need the emperor's permission. Now that the emperor has been killed, the state preceptor is in charge. If you want to enter the pagoda, you have to find the state preceptor and get his handwritten order." Zhuge Nangong said. Qin Feiyang was stunned and said jokingly, "How come I don't know that the state preceptor is in charge now?" Zhuge Nangong said, "The state preceptor is second only to one person and above tens of thousands. Now that the emperor has been killed, of course the state preceptor is in charge of the situation. You really can't wait." Qin Feiyang laughed mockingly, and said, "What if I say that I have to go in today?" Zhuge Nangong's face darkened. It seems that Zhuge Nanhua's fate isn't miserable enough. Since that's the case, then I'll let you be even more miserable than Zhuge Nanhua. Qin Feiyang's eyes surged with a cold light. Seeing this, Zhuge Nangong immediately stood up and flew into the air. The arrogant aura from before had disappeared and his face was filled with fear. Trash. Qin Feiyang laughed disdainfully and walked to the front of the pagoda. He took out the Chang Shui and raised his blade. Flames flew everywhere and the pagoda door collapsed. Next, he put away the Chang Shui and entered the pagoda openly. However, Qin Feiyang and Zhuge Nanhua did not know that in the air, a speck of dust had also quietly swept into the pagoda. Chapter 1351. When Qin Feiyang entered the pagoda, Zhuge Nangong immediately sent a message to the state preceptor. When he learned that Qin Feiyang was going to the 9 prefectures, his expression changed. He immediately opened the portal and descended above the pagoda. Looking at the tower door that was destroyed by Qin Feiyang, the anger in his heart immediately flared up. At this moment, Qin Feiyang had already opened the teleportation altar and left. What is he going to do in the 9 prefectures? The state preceptor looked at Zhuge Nangong and asked. Do you think he will tell me? Zhuge Nangong smiled bitterly. If he hadn't run away, he would have been stripped naked and thrown into the central square like Zhuge Nanhua. What tricks is this little bastard playing? The state preceptor was confused. No, I have to go and take a look. With that, he also turned into a stream of light and rushed into the pagoda. Butterfly Valley. As usual, old man Qin sat leisurely by the lake, drinking tea and fishing. It seemed that he really enjoyed this carefree life. Swish. Suddenly, a figure swooped down like lightning and landed beside old man Qin. It was Qin Feiyang. Old man Qin looked at Qin Feiyang and was slightly stunned. He smiled and said, "Where are you going this time?" Qin Feiyang looked at the lake and sighed, "I'm afraid only you have the mood to fish here." What do you mean? Old man Qin frowned. Qin Feiyang said, "The emperor has been killed and his life is unknown. The imperial jade seal has also disappeared with him. It won't be long before the great Qin empire falls into chaos." What? Old man Qin's eyes trembled. He quickly got up and looked at Qin Feiyang. What did you say? The emperor has been killed? Qin Feiyang nodded. How is this possible? Old man Qin's body shook and grabbed Qin Feiyang's clothes. He shouted, "When did this happen?" Not long ago. Qin Feiyang said. Qin Feiyang's face instantly turned pale. He asked, "Did you find out who did it?" State preceptor. He doesn't look like an imperial advisor. It's not Lu Xingchen either. I can't figure it out either. Who's behind all this? However, according to my investigation, the emperor isn't in the imperial capital right now, nor is he in the Sea of Reincarnation. Then, he must be in the 9 prefectures. That's why I'm here to ask, have you seen him before? But now, it seems that you haven't seen it before. Qin Feiyang rubbed his temples and said. How could this happen? Old man Qin was stunned. Suddenly, with a shudder, he looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "There are people guarding the teleportation altars in all the continents. I'll go ask them right away." After saying that, he immediately activated the teleportation gate. Wait. Qin Feiyang grabbed him, glanced at the void, and transmitted his voice. Use your divine sense to scan the Butterfly Valley. Why? Old Qin looked at him suspiciously. We don't know whether the emperor is dead or alive. If I were Lu Xingchen, I would definitely seize this opportunity to do something. I want to see if he followed me to the spiritual state. Qin Feiyang thought to himself. Old man Qin immediately released his divine sense and instantly enveloped the entire Butterfly Valley. There's a space divine item above. Immediately, old man Qin looked up at the sky, a cold light surging in his old eyes. He's really here? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Looking at the sky, a cold light flashed in his eyes. This guy is really not easy to deal with. Inside the space divine item, Lu Xingchen smiled helplessly, then drove the space divine item out of the valley at lightning speed. He's going to escape. Should we keep him? Old man Qin looked at Qin Feiyang and asked. Let him be. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Lu Xingchen was no longer an ordinary person. With old man Qin's strength, he might not be able to keep him. So, instead of wasting time, it was better to go their own way. Hearsay. Old man Qin retracted his divine sense and said, I'll go to the major states to ask, wait for me here. Qin Feiyang nodded. Old man Qin did not delay any longer and turned to enter the portal. Looking at old man Qin's back, Qin Feiyang let out a long sigh. He sat by the lake, grabbed the fishing rod, and quietly fished. You came to the spiritual state to fish? Suddenly, the state preceptor's voice sounded behind Qin Feiyang. Can't I? Qin Feiyang did not turn around. Is it that simple? The state preceptor sneered, glanced at the Butterfly Valley, and asked, Where's old man Qin? He seems to have something to do and went out. Qin Feiyang said, still not turning around. Seeing this, the state preceptor was angry in his heart and snorted coldly, It seems that your relationship with old man Qin is not ordinary. Is there? Qin Feiyang asked back. Nonsense, if your relationship is not good, then why didn't he capture you? You have to know that he was sent to guard the Butterfly Valley to deal with you. The state preceptor said coldly. That was before. Now, the emperor has withdrawn the arrest warrant, why would he still target me? Besides, even you can't deal with me, let alone him alone. Qin Feiyang said lightly. Arrogant little bastard. The state preceptor cursed in his heart and then didn't speak again. He didn't leave and stood silently by the side. Soon, old man Qin returned and saw that the state preceptor was also here. His face was filled with anger as he said, How did you take care of His Majesty? How could you let him be assassinated in the imperial palace? The state preceptor's face turned extremely ugly. How is it? Qin Feiyang asked secretly. I've asked. The teleportation altars of the major states have not been activated in the past 2 or 3 days. Old man Qin said secretly. Not activated? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows subtly. Didn't this mean that the person who kidnapped the emperor had never been to the 9 states? But why did Mu Qing say that the emperor was not in the capital? Was Mu Qing lying? But if Mu Qing was really lying, then why did Lu Xingchen follow him to the spiritual state? What was going on? Qin Feiyang's mind was completely confused. Little cousin, return to the capital immediately. Maybe I have a way to find the whereabouts of the emperor. Suddenly, Lu Zheng's voice sounded in Qin Feiyang's mind. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and hurriedly transmitted his voice. What way? It's a secret. Lu Zheng said mysteriously. Phew. Qin Feiyang secretly exhaled, glanced at old man Qin and the state preceptor, then turned and flew towards the secret chamber. The state preceptor followed closely behind. It seems that my good days are over. Old man Qin glanced at the Butterfly Valley and also turned to chase after Qin Feiyang and the state preceptor. After entering the secret chamber, Qin Feiyang activated the teleportation altar and jumped up. The state preceptor and old man Qin also jumped up the altar. The state preceptor raised his eyebrows and said, Aren't you going to guard here? Old man Qin snorted, Do you think I'm still in the mood to guard here? I shouldn't have listened to you and guarded the Butterfly Valley. The state preceptor fell silent. That was because he knew that he could order anyone but old man Qin. Pagoda. Seeing the state preceptor return, Zhuge Nangong immediately went up and thought, what did he go to the spiritual state for? He didn't do anything. The state preceptor transmitted his voice. He didn't do anything? Then what did he go there for? To relax? Zhuge Nangong was stunned. To fish. The state preceptor said. Ah. Zhuge Nangong was speechless. He went all the way to fish? Who would believe that? But when he saw Old Man Qin, Zhuge Nangong's expression changed slightly. He bowed and said, "Greetings, Old Man Qin." Old Man Qin nodded faintly and looked at the state preceptor. "From now on, I will still guard the pagoda. Do you have any objections?" Old Man Qin is a person of virtue and prestige. How would I dare to have any objections? However, for safety reasons, I think that you should let Zhuge Nangong stay behind to assist you," the state preceptor said. He could already tell that Old Man Qin and Qin Feiyang had an unusual relationship. Naturally, he wouldn't be at ease letting Old Man Qin guard the pagoda alone. Therefore, he wanted Zhuge Nangong to stay behind to monitor Old Man Qin. Hearing this, Old Man Qin wasn't angry. Instead, he said faintly, "Lord State Preceptor, you know very well that the back mountain of the Imperial Palace is extremely dangerous. Perhaps something will happen after you leave." Qin Feiyang's face twitched. The meaning of Old Man Qin's words was too obvious. "If you dare to let Zhuge Nanhua stay, I will dare to kill him." How could the state preceptor not understand the meaning behind those words? He stared at Old Man Qin gloomily. Old Man Qin was not to be outdone and stared back at the state preceptor. Qin Feiyang could even feel invisible sparks from the collision of their gazes in the void. Zhuge Nangong's face couldn't help but turn pale. Old Man Qin had already spoken. How could he still dare to stay here? However, he was afraid of angering the state preceptor, so he didn't dare to say it out loud and could only feel anxious. "All right, as you wish, I will let you guard the pagoda alone. Let's go." The state preceptor finally compromised. He turned around and strode outside. Zhuge Nangong heaved a sigh of relief and quickly followed. After the two of them left, Old Man Qin snorted from his nose and said, "This old man is getting more and more presumptuous. If I don't suppress his arrogance, he will think that he is the owner of this imperial palace." Qin Feiyang sneered and said, "Right now, he already thinks of himself as the owner of this imperial palace. That's because I wasn't around. Now that I'm back, he can't be so arrogant anymore." Old Man Qin snorted. "That's right. With an old man like you holding down the fort, I feel much more confident." Qin Feiyang smiled and said. Old Man Qin raised his eyebrows and said angrily, "Your biological father was plotted against and you can still smile? Do you still have a conscience?" Qin Feiyang's face immediately turned cold and he said, "Let's not talk about this. We are still partners." All right. It's my fault. I shouldn't have mentioned this." Old Man Qin quickly waved his hand and apologized. Qin Feiyang's expression softened a lot. Old Man Qin sighed and asked, "Have you thought of the next step of the plan?" "No." Qin Feiyang answered straightforwardly. Then, he opened the teleportation door and walked in without saying a word. Sigh. You turn hostile at the mention of His Majesty. Do you really hate His Majesty that much? No matter what, you are still father and son. Moreover, His Majesty was killed this time and his life is unknown. He has received the appropriate punishment. Can't you let go of the hatred in your heart? Even if it's just a little bit." Yiglao looked at Qin Feiyang's back. He seemed to be mumbling to himself, but also seemed to be talking to Qin Feiyang. His old face was full of disappointment. After Qin Feiyang disappeared, Old Man Qin retracted his gaze and looked at the broken tower door. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. Without a doubt. Chapter 1352. Bright Sky Palace. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and the door closed with a bang. Then, Lu Zheng appeared out of thin air. Qin Feiyang asked, "What exactly do you have in mind?" "I already said it's a secret, why are you still asking?" Lu Zheng rolled his eyes at Qin Feiyang and said, "In short, you can stay here at ease and wait for my good news." After saying that, Lu Zheng opened the portal and disappeared without a trace. Qin Feiyang frowned. His figure flashed and also disappeared. Ancient pagoda. Above the village. Qin Feiyang stood in the void, looking down at the village. Soon, he found Master Shen. At this moment, Master Shen was kneeling in the square in the center of the village. His clothes were ragged and his body was badly mutilated. He looked like a beggar, battered and exhausted. The villagers who passed by the square couldn't help but come forward and spit on him. Their eyes were full of disgust. There were even some children who peed on him. Swish! Qin Feiyang stepped out and landed on the square. Greetings, young master. There were two burly men who were specially guarding Master Shen. When they saw Qin Feiyang appear, they immediately bowed and saluted. They were both 8-star combat emperors. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. He looked down at Master Shen and said lightly, "How does it feel to be condemned by thousands and spurned by thousands?" Master Shen immediately looked up at Qin Feiyang, his eyes full of resentment. "It seems that you haven't repented, but I don't expect you to. You can continue to kneel here and be tortured slowly. Don't blame anyone, because this is what you deserve." Qin Feiyang said coldly. He looked up at the center of the square and was stunned. In the center of the square stood a stone statue. It was more than 100 feet tall. From the outline, it was a young man. "Who is this?" Qin Feiyang looked at the two burly men and asked. The two men smiled at each other and said mysteriously, "Young master, why don't you go and take a look?" Qin Feiyang looked at the two of them suspiciously. He walked to the front of the stone statue and looked up. His body suddenly stiffened. This stone statue was actually him. "A few days ago, Miss Lu Hong told us that this place was originally reserved for you to plant the tree of creation, but you changed your mind and planted the tree of creation in the herb field. We thought that we couldn't just leave it empty, right? Thus, after some discussion, we decided to create your statue here. Firstly, it's our respect for you. Secondly, let the juniors of the village remember that it was you who saved the village. They must remember this kindness forever." The two burly men came over and explained with a smile. "Idol, how am I qualified?" Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. "No. If it wasn't for the young lord's help, we would never have been able to escape from the state preceptor's evil clutches. Therefore, you deserve it." And the capital of its confidence was undoubtedly its cultivation. As a 9-star emperor beast, it could really help Qin Feiyang at the moment. Therefore, Qin Feiyang would definitely prioritize it. In fact, Qin Feiyang had long thought about helping Wang Yangfeng and Lei Bao, these 9-star emperor beasts, to open the door of potential. However, there was a big problem in helping them open the door of potential. Because their cultivation was too high, they needed the help of the pseudo-god's pressure. However, in the Forgotten Continent and the Great Qin Empire, there were no pseudo-gods worthy of his trust. He didn't even completely trust Elder Qin. Therefore, this matter couldn't be rushed. Buzz! Suddenly, the image crystal rang. Qin Feiyang hurriedly took it out and poured his battle qi into it. The next moment, Lu Zheng's virtual image appeared. "Have you found it?" Qin Feiyang asked. Lu Zheng didn't answer but asked instead, "Are you in the ancient pagoda?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. "Then come out quickly." After Lu Zheng finished speaking, the virtual image dissipated. "What are you looking for? Did something happen again?" Lu Hong soared into the sky and asked with concern. The old man and the others also looked at him suspiciously. Because inside the ancient pagoda, they couldn't hear the sounds outside, so no one knew that the emperor had been killed. "Don't worry, it's nothing serious. I'll take care of it as soon as possible." Qin Feiyang comforted Lu Hong and nodded to the old man and the others below. Then, he left the ancient pagoda and appeared in the main hall. Lu Zheng was in the main hall at this moment. Seeing Qin Feiyang appear, Lu Zheng immediately frowned and said, it's very strange. What's strange? Qin Feiyang was stunned and looked at him in confusion. Lu Zheng said, I've found the whereabouts of the emperor. Do you know where he is? Qin Feiyang was instantly annoyed and roared, aren't you talking nonsense? If I knew, would I still be here looking at you? This guy is really crazy, asking idiotic questions. Lu Zheng smiled embarrassedly and said, the emperor is now in the spiritual state, and he's in the place where you used to live, Iron Ox Town. What? Qin Feiyang was stunned. This is what I don't understand. Elder Qin went to check, and no one activated the teleportation altar in the past few days. How did the emperor go to the spiritual state? Besides, he's not injured at all, and he's not captured, Lu Zheng frowned. Wait. Qin Feiyang quickly raised his hand and interrupted Lu Zheng, asking, you said he's not captured? Yes. He's alone in Iron Ox Town, and he's sitting leisurely in front of the lake outside your yard, fishing. Lu Zheng said strangely. What? Fishing? Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded. What's going on? Suddenly, he realized another important point and looked at Lu Zheng with a frown. You've already been to Iron Ox Town? No. Lu Zheng said. Then how do you know so clearly? At that time, Mu Qin activated his all-seeing eye, but he couldn't even find the exact location of the emperor, but you even know that he's fishing? Isn't this a little too incredible? Qin Feiyang said. Lu Zheng coughed dryly and said, don't worry about that. Anyway, I've already found him. He seemed to be hiding something. Qin Feiyang looked at him deeply. It seemed that the Lu family was still hiding many unknown secrets. Because it was obvious that Lu Zheng himself didn't have this ability. Therefore, it could only be the Lu family who helped him behind the scenes. Iron Ox Town, Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment, opened the portal, and appeared in the pagoda again with Lu Zheng. Elder Qin was repairing the pagoda door. Sensing the aura of the two, he frowned and said, why are you here again? We've found the emperor, come with us. Qin Feiyang said and directly rushed into the pagoda. At the same time, Iron Ox Town. In front of the lake. A middle-aged man sat alone by the lake, fishing quietly. There was a teapot next to him, and wisps of tea fragrance floated in the air. That's right. He was the current emperor. But at this moment, he had already taken off his dragon robe and dragon crown. He was only wearing an old white robe, and there was no trace of the emperor's aura around him. And there was no aura of cultivation on his body either. If someone came here now, they would never know that the man in front of them was the emperor who controlled the fate of hundreds of millions of people in the great Qin Empire. They would only think that he was an ordinary man born and raised here. Your Majesty. Soon. A cry of surprise sounded above the lake. The emperor was slightly stunned. He looked up and saw two shadows descending from the void above. It was Qin Feiyang and Elder Qin. As for Lu Zheng, after entering the spiritual state, he took the initiative to ask Qin Feiyang to send him to the ancient castle. Obviously. At the moment, Lu Zheng didn't want to see the emperor. Lu Zheng raised his eyebrows and listened carefully to the movements outside. Outside. Old man Qin watched Qin Feiyang disappear and frowned slightly. Then he waved his hand and a surprising scene appeared. Above the lake, a boundary suddenly appeared. Then, old man Qin directly entered the boundary and landed in front of the emperor. He was about to bow and kowtow. The emperor hurriedly reached out to stop him and said secretly, although Qin Feiyang is unconscious, there must be other people in the castle. If you have something to say, just send a message secretly. Don't say it out loud. Yes. Old man Qin secretly responded. The emperor glanced at the barrier and sighed inwardly. It seems that the barrier you set up isn't very useful. The boundary was actually set up by old man Qin. If Qin Feiyang and Lu Zheng heard this, they would definitely be shocked. I didn't expect that Qin Feiyang and the others were so powerful that they could ignore the boundary and find your position. Old man Qin also looked helpless and then asked, "What should we do next?" The emperor was silent for a moment and sighed. "Even the boundary you set up can't escape their detection. To be honest, I really can't think of any other way, unless, speaking of this." The emperor hesitated. Old man Qin said, "Unless what?" Suddenly, Old man Qin seemed to think of something and said in surprise, "Your Majesty, are you talking about the divine order left by the late emperor?" "Yes." The emperor nodded. The divine order was personally refined by the late emperor. It can block all the detection of the world, but the divine order can only be opened once. When the late emperor left this divine order, his intention was to protect the last trace of the bloodline power of the Qin clan when the great Qin was in danger. In other words, this divine order is the last life-saving talisman of the great Qin. The previous emperors were not willing to use it. "So your Majesty, you have to think twice." Old man Qin bowed and said. The emperor said, "Then tell me, besides the divine order, what else can help me?" "Yes. Find Qin Feiyang. If Qin Feiyang is willing to help, no one can hurt you, your Majesty." Old man Qin said. "Humph." The emperor snorted and said, "If I ask him for help, where will my face go? Besides, do you think with his character, he will help me?" Old man Qin frowned and wanted to say something, but he didn't say it. "Enough. I have decided to open the divine order," the emperor said expressionlessly. Then a stream of light rushed out from between his eyebrows and floated in front of the two. Shockingly, it was a purplish gold token. The token was the size of an adult's palm and was glowing with a hazy purple gold divine light. On the front of the token, there was a statue of a god. The statue was of a middle-aged man. He held the broken sword in his hand and looked askance at the heavens. Like a divine king, his aura covered the clouds. That's right. This was the statue of the first emperor. On the other side, there was a purple gold divine dragon. It was lifelike, and one could even feel a strong sense of oppression. "Your Majesty, do you really want to do this?" Old man Qin frowned. "I have no choice." The emperor murmured and the golden dragon battle chi poured into the divine order. With a buzz, the divine order shone brightly. Following that, with a crack, the divine order shattered and turned into specks of crystal light that merged into the emperor's body. Immediately, the emperor's entire body began to emit a bright purple gold divine light. Old man Qin sighed deeply. What's done is done. He didn't say anything more and silently retreated to the side. Time passed by breath. The purple gold divine light on the emperor's body gradually converged. About 100 breaths passed. When the last wisp of purple gold divine light faded, the emperor returned to his previous appearance and didn't seem to have changed at all. But Mu Qing, who was in the distant state capital, suddenly changed his expression. "What's wrong?" "In the space divine object." Noticing the change in Mu Qing, Lu Xingchen asked in surprise. Mu Qing said in surprise, "I've been looking for the emperor with my heavenly eye. Although I can't find his exact location, I can still spy on him. But just now, I suddenly couldn't see anything." "What?" Lu Xingchen's expression changed and he frowned. "How could this be?" "I don't know." Mu Qing shook his head and said, "But there's only one possibility for this to happen." "What possibility?" Lu Xingchen asked. "He's dead. Only when he's dead will my heavenly eye fail." Mu Qing said. "Dead?" Lu Xingchen's body stiffened and asked, "Is it possible that you've been opening your heavenly eye for a long time, causing it to fail?" "No." Mu Qing shook his head. "How could he be dead?" Lu Xingchen's face was full of disbelief. Suddenly, he shuddered and said, "Qin Feiyang is also in the spiritual state. Let's see where he and Elder Qin are." "Yes." Mu Qing nodded. By the lake. Elder Qin asked, Your Majesty, where do you plan to go now? Now that I have the divine edict, it doesn't matter where I go. But you plotted against Qin Feiyang. When he wakes up, he will definitely not let it go. How do you plan to deal with it? The emperor said. I have my ways. However, there's a problem that I don't know how to solve. Elder Qin said. What's the problem? The emperor asked. Elder Qin said, Your Majesty left, the imperial capital will be in chaos sooner or later. Who will manage the imperial court then? Whatever. Anyway, the imperial jade seal is in my hands. No one can take away my throne. The emperor snorted, his eyes flashing coldly. I'm afraid that when Your Majesty returns, things will have changed. Elder Qin sighed. Then let's wait and see. The emperor smiled coldly, then took a step forward, step by step, and gradually disappeared from Elder Qin's sight. Sigh. Why is it that I can't see through you now? Actually, I have a lot to say to Your Majesty, but I don't dare to say it. Looking at the direction where the emperor disappeared, Elder Qin sighed, his face full of melancholy. Throughout the whole process, the conversation between the two was carried out in secret, so Lu Zheng, who was in the castle, did not get any useful information. After a long time, Elder Qin waved his hand, and the barrier disintegrated and dissipated between heaven and earth. Just as the barrier dissipated, Mu Qing's eyes lit up. She looked at Lu Xingqian and said, I found Elder Qin. Where? Lu Xingqian asked anxiously. Mu Qing said, Iron Ox Town, in front of the lake where Qin Feiyang used to live. Why is he there? Lu Xingqian was surprised. He immediately left the space divine item, opened the portal, and descended above the lake. Elder Qin immediately sensed Lu Xingqian's aura. He looked up, and there was a hint of murderous intent in his eyes. He came really fast. Where's the emperor? Lu Xingqian glanced at the lake and asked Elder Qin. The emperor? Elder Qin was slightly stunned and puzzled. Aren't you looking for him? Why? You didn't find him? Elder Qin, we're all sensible people. Why are you playing dumb? Lu Xingqian's eyes flashed with anger. Playing dumb? I don't understand. I'm also looking for His Majesty. What do you mean by playing dumb? Elder Qin said. Lu Xingqian raised his eyebrows and glanced at the lake. Suddenly, he saw the fishing rod by the lake. His eyes flashed, and he said, Let's not talk about the emperor first. Where's Qin Feiyang? In the castle. Elder Qin said. Lu Xingqian glanced at the void and said, Qin Feiyang, come out. Chapter 1354. Inside the castle. Lu Zheng frowned when he heard Lu Xingqian's voice. Then, he looked down at Qin Feiyang. Time passed by slowly. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang's eyelids moved and he slowly opened his eyes. He felt a tearing pain in his head. Elder Qin. This intense pain caused him to immediately recall what had happened before, and his entire body instantly emitted a monstrous vicious aura. Swish. He suddenly got up, rubbed the back of his head, and waved his hand. An image appeared. Where's the emperor? Seeing only Elder Qin and Lu Xingqian in the image, Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and asked Lu Zheng. I don't know. I didn't hear anything before. The conversation between the emperor and Elder Qin should be in the dark. Lu Zheng said. Damn it. Qin Feiyang cursed angrily. He didn't expect Elder Qin to sneak attack him. Lu Zheng comforted him, Don't worry. When we return to the capital, I will immediately find the emperor. But why did you faint just now? It's Elder Qin. Qin Feiyang's eyes were filled with coldness. So it's him. In that case, he already knew that the emperor was in the spiritual state. He was just acting with us. Lu Zheng said in realization. Qin Feiyang sneered. The next moment, he appeared beside the lake and glanced at Elder Qin. Then, he looked up at Lu Xingchen. He pointed at Elder Qin and said with a murderous aura, "Let's not talk nonsense. Let's join hands and kill him." Huh? Lu Xingchen was shocked. Elder Qin's expression also changed. He hurriedly said, "Qin Feiyang, listen to my explanation." "What's there to explain?" Qin Feiyang smiled coldly. He looked at Lu Xingchen and waited for Lu Xingchen's reply. Lu Xingchen looked at the two of them suspiciously. What's going on? Did something happen before he came? Elder Qin glanced at Lu Xingchen and secretly transmitted his voice to Qin Feiyang. If I really wanted to kill you, you wouldn't have just fainted. Wake up, killing me won't do you any good. Qin Feiyang said, then why did you do that? Elder Qin said, he is the emperor of the great Qin, I must protect him. Is that all? Qin Feiyang's expression. Yes. I didn't tell him a single word about what happened between you and me. I didn't betray you, please believe me. Old Qin said with a pleading tone. Qin Feiyang thought to himself, when did the emperor come to the spiritual state? When you came back from the continent. Old Qin said. I see. He entered the spiritual state after I humiliated Zhuge Nanhua. Qin said. Yes. After you threw Zhuge Nanhua into the central square of the first district, the pagoda was unguarded. His Majesty took this opportunity to come to spirit state. Elder Qin said. Why did he come to spirit state? Why did he pretend to be killed? Don't tell me you don't know. Qin Feiyang secretly said. This, Elder Qin hesitated and transmitted his voice, I can't tell you for now, but please believe me. I really don't want to harm you. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed coldly. He must be hiding something from me. Seeing Qin Feiyang and Elder Qin looking at each other in silence, Lu Xingchen knew that the two must be secretly transmitting their voices. Suddenly, his eyes flashed and he smiled, Brother Qin, it's not easy to kill him, but as long as you're willing to lend me Chang Shui, I have full confidence. Clang. Chang Shui immediately appeared in Qin Feiyang's hands. Good, good, good. Lu Xingchen was secretly delighted. Getting rid of Elder Qin was equivalent to getting rid of one of the pillars of the great Qin Empire. It would undoubtedly be easier to destroy the great Qin Empire in the future. At the same time, Elder Qin's body tightened and he said angrily in his heart, Qin Feiyang, don't mess around, okay? You'll only hurt your loved ones and delight your enemies by doing this. Do I have any relatives in the great Qin Empire? Qin Feiyang looked at him coldly. Elder Qin was stunned. That's right. Did Qin Feiyang have any relatives? In the past, he did, and that was Qin Feiyang's mother. But now, Qin Feiyang's mother had disappeared without a trace. As for the others, they were basically the people Qin Feiyang hated the most. It could be said that there was no one in the great Qin Empire that Qin Feiyang cared about. Sigh. Old Qin sighed deeply and said, if killing me can calm the rage in your heart, then do it. But don't forget the promise you made to me in the past to protect the Grand Qin Empire and its citizens. With that, he closed his eyes and had no intention of resisting. Swoosh. Lu Xingchen's eyes flashed as he took a step forward and landed in front of Qin Feiyang, reaching out to grab Chang Shui. But suddenly, Qin Feiyang's mind moved, and Chang Shui turned into a stream of light and disappeared into his energy reserve. Lu Xingchen grabbed nothing and frowned. What do you mean? Can't I change my mind? Qin Feiyang looked at him indifferently. Lu Xingchen went berserk and said angrily, are you messing with me? Aren't you messing with me too? You knew that the emperor was in the spiritual state, but you didn't tell me. Tell me, what are your intentions? Qin Feiyang sneered. Lu Xingchen was furious. Since you're going against me, don't blame me for being ruthless. The conditions I promised you in the Bright Sky Palace are nullified. Qin Feiyang said. Nullified. Hearing this, Lu Xingchen was about to go crazy. Qin Feiyang didn't pay any more attention to him. He looked at old man Qin and said, "And you, don't talk to me about promises. Promises are built on the foundation of trust. But now, you've betrayed the trust between us." Trust? Are you sure you've trusted me completely? Elder Qin said angrily. I admit that I didn't trust you completely, but from the beginning to the end, I've never done anything to betray you. This time, you started it first. So, in the future, I won't interfere in anything, even if the great Qin Empire really changes hands. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, Lu Xingchen and Lu Zheng heard him without sending a voice transmission. After speaking, he opened the portal and turned to leave. This time, he was really disheartened and tired of these schemes. He didn't want to care about those trivial matters anymore. Elder Qin looked at Qin Feiyang's back with bitterness in his heart. Lu Xingchen raised his eyebrows, glanced at Elder Qin, and followed him into the space artifact. He immediately became furious and roared, "Damn it, damn it! My lord, please calm down." Mu Qing bowed. It wasn't easy to get Qin Feiyang to agree to my conditions, but it's nullified just like that. How can I not be angry? Lu Xingchen roared. His original plan was to find the emperor and then control him. In this way, the great Qin Empire would become the Tianyang Empire sooner or later, but in the end, he went for wool and came home shorn. Mu Qing's expression was also full of anger. This matter is a little strange. Lu Xingchen said in a deep voice, "Say it. If the emperor is really here, how did Qin Feiyang find him before us? Did Elder Qin tell him?" But looking at his attitude towards Elder Qin, it seems that Elder Qin didn't tell him. So, I think there's a big mystery here. Mu Qing said. That's right. You didn't find him even with the all-seeing eye, so how did he find him? Although this is where Qin Feiyang used to live, the emperor and Qin Feiyang have a deep hatred. Who would think that the emperor would come here? I'm afraid that even Qin Feiyang himself wouldn't think of it. Lu Xingchen's eyes flickered. Mu Qing said in surprise, could it be that Qin Feiyang also has some treasure that can spy on the whereabouts of others? Or secret? This, Lu Xingchen was stunned. That's impossible, right? If he really has it, then why did he ask you to use the all-seeing eye to find the emperor? This is also what I can't figure out. Is it really a coincidence? Mu Qing frowned. Back to Qin Feiyang. He had already entered the secret chamber below the Butterfly Valley. Without any delay, he opened the portal and returned to the Bright Sky Palace. Then, he entered the ancient castle and opened the 6-word divine formula. Lu Zheng glanced at him and went forward to ask, are you really going to ignore it? Qin Feiyang nodded. Even if I can find the emperor's whereabouts again? Lu Zheng asked again. There's no need. I'm tired. Qin Feiyang said. Sigh. Lu Zheng sighed helplessly and said, send me out. Qin Feiyang waved his hand without looking back. Lu Zheng disappeared immediately. Qin Feiyang also began to copy the second stroke of the Xing character formula. Great Qin Empire, in a remote village. Here. There was no killing, no quarrel. The villagers left early and returned late, farming and reclamation, showing a peaceful atmosphere. At this moment, in the center of the village, in front of a wooden building, an old man in linen clothes was half lying on a shabby wooden armchair, holding an old cattail leaf fan in his hand. The old man shook the cattail leaf fan to drive away the heat while telling a story with a kind smile on his face. Next to him, a group of teenagers ranging from a few years old to a teenager listened with great interest. Little stars would appear in their big eyes from time to time. Swish. Suddenly, a dark-skinned young man appeared beside the old man out of thin air. Brother Zhang. The group of teenagers immediately got up and surrounded the young man. The young man was Lu Zheng. Lu Zheng rubbed the head of a teenager dotingly and said with a smile, "I have something to tell second grandpa now. You guys go and have fun first." Okay. The group of teenagers was very obedient. Without waiting for his voice to finish, they ran away energetically. The old man waved the cattail leaf fan and looked at Lu Zheng with a smile. "You're back." Lu Zheng nodded. The old man glanced at Lu Zheng's expression and said, "You don't look well. Did something happen?" "Yes. We had already found the emperor, but Elder Qin suddenly made a move and knocked out little cousin. Because of this, little cousin was angry and threatened not to interfere in the affairs of the imperial palace." Lu Zheng said helplessly. The old man frowned, sat up, and asked, "What about the emperor?" "His whereabouts are unknown." Lu Zheng said. "Elder Qin's approach is too unwise. Even if he wants to help the emperor, there are other ways. Why would he plot against Feiyang? With Feiyang's temper, it's already good that he didn't turn hostile directly." Second grandpa sighed. "Who said he didn't turn hostile?" At that time, as soon as he woke up, he went to Lu Xingchen and prepared to join forces to kill Elder Qin. He even planned to take over Cheng Shui and Lu Xingchen. But in the end, for some reason, he didn't do that. Otherwise, Elder Qin would have died today. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.